Chapter 1912. Brother Ouyang, you've also come! Right at that moment, several terrifying figures appeared. Although they had restrained their powerful auras, they still caused people's hearts to palpitate. Evidently, they were all almighties. They respectfully invited the elders of the Ouyang family away. As for the youngsters of the Ouyang family, they were also quickly led away by the others. Soon after, more and more powers arrived, and the dragon transformation lake became more and more lively. Later on, there were even some people fighting over the position of a seeker spirit master. Fortunately, the 5 great holy lands were overseeing this place. Thus, no one dared to make a move. A day passed. There was only one day left before the real stone gambling assembly began. On this day, 3 figures appeared in the sky. One was a handsome young man who looked like an immortal. One was a black-robed old man, and the other was a crimson dragon horse. They were naturally Lin Xian's trio. The handsome young man was Lin Xian in disguise. As for the black-robed old man, he was naturally old eccentric Dugu. As for the dragon horse, it was a crimson dragon. The crimson dragon was also wanted by the All Beginnings Holy Land. Thus, it had to change its form. Back then, the crimson dragon had directly changed into a fire qilin. Its entire body was bathed in flames, and it looked extraordinarily mighty, as if it were a true divine beast. However, Lin Xian's complexion had darkened. If he were to go out like that, even almighties would be envious. After all, qilins were ancient divine beasts that had already disappeared from the world. If such a divine beast were to appear now, not to mention almighties, even the holy masters of the Holy Lands would go crazy. Thus, Lin Xian had the crimson dragon change its form again. Without any other choice, the crimson dragon could only unwillingly change its form into a simplified version of the fire qilin, making it look more like a dragon horse. Although it still looked very eye-catching, it was still much better than the fire qilin. Thus, Lin Xian agreed. A group of people descended from the sky. Look, someone else is coming down! Who is that? I don't recognize him. What's there to see? What's there to see? What's there to see? He's not a seeker spirit master. Many people shook their heads, not paying any attention to them. However, a small portion of them raised their heads and looked ahead. Then, they were stunned and screamed. F***CK, what is that? Could it be the legendary qilin? It's not a qilin. A qilin is even more powerful than this. But what exactly is this? Cries of surprise could be heard. Soon, the surrounding people were also affected. They all raised their heads and looked over. Then, they were extremely shocked. Among them, there were a few elders whose eyes were shining. Heavens, a mutant of the heavens and the earth! Just by looking at its aura and appearance, it's definitely a mutated species. That's right, they were all staring at the crimson dragon. Because at this moment, the crimson dragon had turned into a draconic horse. Its entire body was dark red, without a trace of impurities. Its 4 hooves were suffused with monstrous flames. It burned fiercely and looked extraordinarily mighty, like a divine horse made of flames. Humph! The crimson dragon snorted at the sight of the surrounding martial artists. If not for Lin Xian stopping him, he would have already transformed into a qilin. At that time, these people's jaws would definitely drop, right? At this moment, a few powerful martial artists walked up and surrounded the crimson dragon. F***CK, look at its fur. It's so shiny. Look, there are flames on its hooves. What a terrifying temperature. I really want to use it as a mount. A middle-aged man circled behind the crimson dragon, eager to give it a try. Originally, the crimson dragon was very proud because it was surrounded by praises. However, when it heard the last sentence, its face immediately darkened. How dare you use it as a mount? You really don't know what's good for you. I'll kick you in the face. The crimson dragon was furious. It raised its hind hooves and kicked backward. Bang! This kick directly sent the middle-aged man behind it flying. A low sound was heard. Then, the middle-aged man turned into a meteor and smashed into the distance. He crashed into a mountain peak and collapsed it. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. As for the few ancient martial art practitioners who had been surrounding the dark red divine dragon, they immediately distanced themselves from it. Each and every one of them was bewildered. Heavens, what the hell is that thing? It's too scary. It can send a powerhouse flying with a kick? F*CK, that's too scary. We have to get away quickly. Otherwise, we won't even know how we're sent flying. However, a few old men's eyes lit up as they stared at the crimson dragon. A mutant of heaven and earth. What a violent power! I really want to take it for myself. Then, they quickly surrounded it. This time, they did not surround the crimson dragon, but Lin Xian, who was beside the crimson dragon. Although they also felt that the black-robed old man beside him had a powerful aura, he looked more like a servant than a housekeeper. Therefore, they looked at the handsome young man in front of them and felt that he was the young master of an aristocratic family. Therefore, these people asked, "Sir, how much are you selling this pet for? Name a price. I'll buy it for how much? I saw it first." "Why are you joining in the fun? You saw it first? Do you have that much money?" "I'm a member of the Wang family. I saw this horse. How dare you snatch it from me?" Before Lin Xian could speak, a few people who came up to ask for the price had already started fighting and arguing. However, the crimson dragon was so angry that its face turned black. It suddenly raised its 4 hooves and slapped all the people around it away. F*CK, how dare you call Benwan a pet? You're the F*King Pets. Come here if you dare. I'll slap you to death. The crimson dragon gnashed its teeth in anger. It realized that it was not a wise choice to turn into a draconic horse. However, there was no way to turn back now. F*CK, this draconic horse has a bad temper. It's too wild. However, it's more interesting to tame such a monster. If you can completely tame it, it won't betray you for the rest of its life. Keep your voice down. I think this horse is very powerful. It's not weaker than a 6-star king. Be careful not to be kicked away by its hooves. That would be embarrassing. Discussions broke out one after another. Lin Xian felt a little helpless. He was surrounded by a group of people before he even entered the stone gambling convention. It seemed that he couldn't keep a low profile even if he wanted to. To be honest, Old Man Dugu was also surprised. He originally thought that the Crimson Dragon was just a long snake because he didn't know that the dark and divine dragons were part of the dragon race. Therefore, he thought that the Crimson Dragon was a snake, a pet, and not very powerful. However, he didn't expect that it would be extremely powerful. Some of those old men were 6-star kings, and they were quite powerful. However, they couldn't even block one attack. One could imagine how terrifying the Crimson Dragon was. A pet was already so terrifying. Who was this young man? Old Man Duga looked at Lin Xian in shock. Chapter 1913. There was still a day before the real stone gambling convention, so the crowd could not enter and could only wait outside. Of course, those with status had already been invited in. The remaining people made up the majority. They had nothing to do, so some of them even started to do business. One of the gray-robed old men waved his arm and took out 7 or 8 grayish-brown stones. He placed them on the ground. He said loudly, "Come, come, come, let's warm them up. I have a few ancient mystical stones here. They're usually not open to the public, but I've reluctantly sold them during the stone gambling convention." "What? You have ancient mystical stones?" Many people crowded around when they heard that. The others sneered. "What ancient mystical stones? You must be lying. If you really have such treasures, why don't you take them out during the stone gambling convention tomorrow? You're just fooling people by taking them out now." "That's true. But who cares? There's a show to watch. Anyway, we have nothing to do now. F*CK, who's that old guy? He's so fast. How dare he steal our business?" The others had the same plan, but they did not expect that someone else would snatch them away. Therefore, they could not wait any longer. They took out their stones and set up stalls. Anyway, if they could cheat as many as they could, they would earn enough capital today so that they could enter the stone gambling convention tomorrow and buy the real mystical stones. Someone set up a stall in advance? Let's go and take a look. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and walked forward. Anyway, as the others said, since he had nothing to do now, he might as well go and take a look. Perhaps he could really find some treasures. Therefore, Lin Xian found a stall that was closer to the stall and went to take a look. Other than Lin Xian, there were quite a number of people surrounding the stall. However, at that moment, there was a commotion behind them. Then, an extremely arrogant voice was heard. "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Can't you see that my young master is here? Get out of the way." Then, the crowd dispersed, and a young man dressed in green strode over with a fan in his hand. He was dressed in green, and there was a long sword hanging from his waist. The long sword was embedded with some beautiful divine stones. A strong wave of spiritual power was emitted from it. The young man had sharp eyes and sharp eyebrows. There was infinite arrogance in his eyes. Beside him were two servants. The two servants had their noses in the air, looking very arrogant. Who is this? How can he be so arrogant? Some people around were dissatisfied. He's from the Swallow Cloud sect. Looks like his background isn't small. It's best not to offend him. The young man had an arrogant look on his face and didn't say anything. His chin was raised high, as if he didn't care about anyone. One of the two servants beside him sneered. "Let me tell you something. Our young master's father is an elder of the Swallow Cloud sect. If you offend us, you'll have to bear the consequences. Get out of the way." An elder of the Yen Yun sect. Hearing this, many people were shocked and made way for him. After all, the Swallow Cloud sect was also a peerless sect. The strength of an elder in the sect was absolutely terrifying. Therefore, no one dared to provoke this arrogant young man. However, there were exceptions. There were 3 motionless figures in front of them. They were Lin Xian and the other two. F***CK, who is this? How dare you not make way? Don't you want to live? I don't know, but this kid seems to have an extraordinary background. He actually has such a mutant by his side. I think he's probably a disciple of a large family or faction. Everyone discussed animatedly. Although they didn't know Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon beside Lin Xian was too eye-catching. Moreover, there was a black-robed old man with him. Although he had restrained his aura, it still made people's hearts tremble. Such a person must have a powerful background. However, the young man from the Swallow Cloud sect frowned. Someone actually dared to put on airs in front of him. He really didn't know what was good for him. However, before he could speak, the 2 servants beside him shouted angrily. "Who are you, kid? Don't you have ears? Get out of the way!" Hearing this, Lin Xian didn't say anything, but the Crimson Dragon and Old Monster Dugu were furious. Old Monster Dugu's nerves were especially cold. One had to know that he was a vicious person who didn't care about anything. Even the martial artists of the Holy Lands would retreat when they saw him. But now, someone actually dared to reprimand him. They were simply courting death. He coldly snorted and was about to attack. However, Lin Xian waved his hand and stopped him. Lin Xian didn't want to provoke trouble and attract the attention of almighty experts. If that happened, he might be targeted by the All Beginnings Holy Land. Humph! Seeing Lin Xian stop him, Old Monster Dugu stopped attacking. However, he still coldly snorted. "This place is so big. Don't you have legs? Don't you know how to take a detour? You are courting death. Our young master is so precious. You actually dare to make him take a detour? Are you tired of living? Screw you!" The Crimson Dragon exerted himself and kicked that insolent servant away. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. Moreover, once he threw a tantrum, Lin Xian wouldn't be able to stop him. Therefore, his kick directly made that servant disappear. What? Seeing this scene, the surrounding crowd went into an uproar. However, the people from the Yen Yin sect also frowned. Audacious! You dare to attack us? Are you tired of living? Do you know who we are? The remaining servant gnashed his teeth and roared crazily. The other party actually dared to attack them. They were truly audacious and didn't know the difference between life and death. "Oh, you still dare to be arrogant?" The Crimson Dragon still wanted to attack, but he was stopped by Lin Xian. On the other side, the arrogant youth from the Yan Yun sect also said in a deep voice, "Enough. Don't pay attention to them." "Yes, young master," the servant said respectfully. Then, he fiercely glared at Lin Xian and the other two. "Brat, consider yourself lucky. Our young master is magnanimous and will let you go. Otherwise, you'll be dead." Lin Xian didn't pay attention to this kind of person. In his eyes, this kind of person was nothing more than an ant. He didn't care about them at all. Instead, he stared at the stall in front of him and said in a deep voice, "Old man, how much are you selling these stones?" "Oh, you still want to gamble on stones? Do you have any money? These are all strange stones. Can you afford them?" On the other side, the arrogant youth from the Yan Yun sect also walked up. The servant beside him sneered. Slap! Beside him, old monster Dugu couldn't hold it in anymore. He slapped the servant's face, turning it into a pig's head. "Damn servant, we can speak! Do you have the right to speak? How dare you hit me?" The servant covered his face. His teeth were all broken. He was bleeding profusely as he looked at old monster Dugu in horror. However, he still shouted crazily, "How dare you hit me? How dare you hit me? Young master, you must kill him! Help me kill him!" The arrogant youth's face also darkened. Chapter 1914. Previously, one of his servants had been sent flying. Now, another servant had been slapped in the face. This made him lose face. Therefore, in the next moment, his face darkened as he stared at Lin Xian, strange old man Dugu, and the others. "Kid, if we weren't near the Dragon Transformation Lake, it wouldn't be convenient for us to fight. You'd be dead by now. However, since you dared to provoke the Yan Yun sect, I'll remember you. After the stone gambling event, the three of you won't have a good ending. Just you wait." "TSK." Lin Xian ignored him. Strange old man Dugu snorted coldly, and the Crimson Dragon looked at him with disdain. This kind of threat had no effect on them. The arrogant young master of the Yan Yun sect also snorted coldly. "However, it's too easy for you to let you off just like that. Didn't you want to bet on stones? Kid, do you dare to bet with me?" "Bet with you? Are you worthy?" Lin Xian glanced at him. He didn't have any expression, but there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. Feeling this disregard, the arrogant young man was about to go crazy. He had a noble status and no one had ever dared to look down on him. However, this despicable kid in front of him not only looked down on him, but also ignored him. This made him go crazy with anger. "Why? You don't dare?" The arrogant young man sneered. "There's nothing we don't dare to do." The Crimson Dragon also sneered. "However, do you have enough crystals on you? Don't bet halfway and you'll be out of money. That'll be embarrassing." "Humph, you don't have to worry about that. Just tell me if you dare or not," the arrogant young man said coldly. "Okay, I'll play with you," Lin Xian said indifferently. Then, he looked ahead and said, "This is it." "What? Stone gambling?" Hearing this, the surrounding crowd became excited and gathered around. Those who were even further away were also walking towards them. Seeing Lin Xian choose a stone so easily, the surrounding crowd was shocked. The arrogant young Master Qian sneered. "You're really a country bumpkin. I haven't even told you how to play and you can't wait to choose a stone? Looks like you're an ignorant idiot. How do you want to play?" Lin Xian asked indifferently. He wasn't angry because stone gambling wasn't that difficult for him. One had to know that very few people could match his eye technique. Even those powerful Seeker Spirit Master families might not be able to defeat him. Not to mention the insolent young man in front of him. However, young Master Qian didn't know that. He said coldly, "Let's be more direct. We'll each choose a stone, and whoever cuts out more crystals wins." "Sure." Lin Yuan nodded. "I still choose this stone." I won't change my mind. TSK, what an idiot. This stone of yours is dim and lightless at first glance. There is absolutely no crystal inside. You brat, you definitely don't know anything. Just you wait, you're going to lose this time. At this point, young Master Qian revealed a ferocious expression. I didn't mention the consequences of losing earlier. Can I tell you now? The loser must kneel and kowtow to the winner. What? Kneel and kowtow! The crowd exclaimed. This was a direct slap in the face. Looking at these two young men, their identities weren't simple. If they kneeled and kowtowed in public, it would definitely be a slap in the face. They probably wouldn't be able to raise their heads for the rest of their lives. They didn't expect young Master Qian to be so vicious. The crowd was in a heated discussion. Young Master Qian sneered. Brat, how is it? Are you afraid? Let me tell you, you dared to hit my servant. I'll definitely kill you. I'll definitely make you kneel at my feet, kowtow, and admit your mistake. Moreover, the rules of stone gambling are that the chosen stone can't be changed. So, you can slowly wait for your death. In young Master Qian's opinion, if the other party dared to compete with him, he was simply dead meat. He was 100% confident now. In the next moment, young Master Qian sneered. Two balls of red light appeared in his eyes and gradually expanded, forming a triangular shape. Buzz! Accompanying it was a faint red light and a terrifying aura. This is an eye technique. The crowd was shocked. They didn't expect that although young Master Qian was arrogant, he still had the strength. Judging from his eye technique, he was definitely an expert. It's over. That brat is dead meat. Young Master Qian's eye technique is extraordinary. He will definitely be able to choose a good stone. Yeah, that brat didn't use anything and just casually chose a stone. Does he know what stone gambling is? Discussions could be heard, and many people shook their heads and sighed. Although they didn't like young Master Qian, at this moment, it seemed that Lin Xian was more likely to lose. At the side, old Monster Dugu was also feeling uneasy. That was because he also felt that Lin Xian was being too casual. No matter what, he should have used his divine ability to check it out. However, the other party didn't do anything at all and casually chose a stone. He was simply too irresponsible. He secretly observed Lin Xian's expression and found that the other party was very calm, as if he didn't take this matter seriously. Sigh, young and ignorant. Although he's powerful, it doesn't mean that his spirit-seeking technique is powerful. Old Monster Duga shook his head in his heart. He had seen many similar situations in the past. In his opinion, Lin Xian was too careless. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and the Crimson Dragon sneered at the side. He knew Lin Xian's true strength. This stone gambling was nothing at all. He was already looking forward to seeing the other party's expression when the results were revealed. In front, young Master Qian's eyes flickered as he glanced at the stall. Soon, the corners of his mouth curled up, and he grabbed a stone in his hand. Young masters, this old man is running a small business. Would the two of you like to settle the bill first? The old man at the stall said. He was really worried that the two of them would cut the stone and not pay. It's just a few crystals. Do you think I'll shortchange you? Young Master Qian's face was full of disdain. Then, he tossed the 1.5 kilograms of crystals to the other party. Then, he looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Kid, don't tell me you can't even take out 1.5 kilograms of crystals. If that's the case, I advise you to kneel down and kowtow as soon as possible. Idiot! Lin Xian sneered. With a flick of his finger, he also tossed out 1.5 kilograms of crystals. Young Master Qian's face darkened when he saw this. He realized that the other party's casual attitude was really infuriating. Meanwhile, the surrounding crowd was indeed a little nervous. That was because it was the most critical time to cut the stone. The most exciting part of stone gambling was the cutting of the stone. With one cut, one could become rich, or one could lose everything and go bankrupt. Therefore, this was indeed the most exciting part. After taking a deep breath, young Master Qian took out a small golden knife and prepared to cut the stone. Chapter 19:15. Crack! 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 He was very careful. Red light bloomed in his eyes, and the golden knife in his hand was as steady as a rock as he slowly lowered it. Then, the surface of the stone slowly peeled off, and the stone in his hand became smaller and smaller. Buzz! At this moment, a bright light suddenly lit up like a rainbow, illuminating the surroundings. Seeing this, young Master Qian heaved a sigh of relief, while the surrounding crowd exclaimed, "There's a glow. It seems that there must be a crystal, but I wonder how many there are?" He bought the stone with 1.5 kilograms of crystal. If he can't cut it into 1.5 kilograms, he'll lose his money. Looking at the colorful luster, it should be more than 1.5 kilograms. Discussions broke out one after another, as they paid even more attention to the situation. Young Master Qian became more and more careful. In the end, the entire surface of the stone peeled off, and 2.5 kilograms of crystal appeared on the ground. 2.5 kilograms, what a steal! Yes, not bad. This young Master Qian is really something. Most of these stones are useless, but I didn't expect young Master Qian to be able to cut out 2.5 kilograms of crystal. It was indeed shocking. Everyone was discussing, and their words were filled with envy. Indeed, 9 out of 10 people who set up stalls here were scammers. Most of the stones were useless, so most people would not cut them. They would wait until the stone gambling convention officially began the next day. However, young Master Qian was not only bold, but he also cut out 2.5 kilograms of crystal, which shocked the surrounding crowd. Young Master Qian was even more proud. He looked at Lin Xian provocatively, then sneered. "Kid, you're dead meat. I advise you not to cut it. I've seen your stone. It's just a useless stone. There's nothing in it." As soon as he said that, the surrounding crowd exclaimed again. "Yes, that stone is dim and ugly. I don't think there's anything in it." "I think so too. I think that kid is going to lose." Even the old man who sold the stone shook his head and sighed. Obviously, he also thought that it was a useless stone. "Young master, do you want me to do it?" At this moment, old Monster Duga also spoke. He felt that if Lin Xian lost, he might as well not cut it. Now that he was using absolute power to intimidate them, the people around him would definitely not dare to say anything. However, Lin Xian was very calm. He said, "There is definitely a treasure in this stone. It's just that they don't know what it is." There was a treasure. Young Master Qian sneered. "You're really naive. If there's a treasure in this stone, I'll eat all the stone skins on the ground." He didn't believe that the other party's stone would contain a treasure. "That's what you said." The Crimson Dragon was energized. He said in a clear voice. "Everyone heard it. This guy is going to eat the stone skin in a while. If he doesn't eat it, then he's a bastard." "You!" Young Master Qian was so angry that his face turned black. But soon he sneered and said, "I want to see what kind of stone you can cut out." Lin Xian didn't care at all. Using his finger as a blade, he slashed down. Seeing this, the surrounding people were even more incredulous. Young Master Qian sneered. "Look at your technique. Do you think you're cutting a watermelon? Even if there's something good, it will be cut into pieces by you." However, as soon as he said that, his whole body froze. The smile on his face also became very ugly, because an extremely bright light burst out from the crack. It was like a rainbow, circling in the sky. What a bright light! There really are crystals in here. Oh God, I'm not dreaming, am I? This kid's luck is too good. He randomly picked a stone and there are crystals in it. You should know that most of the stones here are useless. Everyone was discussing, but most of them thought that it was Lin Xian's luck that was good. Even old Monster Duga was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Xian to really cut out crystals. Young Master Qian's face was also very ugly, as if he had eaten a dead fly. He gritted his teeth and said, "Impossible, how can this kid be so lucky?" Humph, I don't believe that he can cut out more crystals than me. In front of him, Lin Xian waved his hand quickly, and the stone skin on the ground kept falling. Then, a crystal that was about 5 kilograms appeared in front of everyone. 5 kilograms. He's definitely rich. Everyone's eyes were burning because crystals were essential for the cultivation of a king. However, most of these people didn't have much in their hands. They didn't expect that the young man in front of them could casually cut out 5 kilograms. This was definitely enviable. This kid can't be a seeker spirit master, right? Otherwise, how can he be so powerful? It's possible. Look at his expression, he's always so calm. Damn, he can't be lucky, right? But his luck is too heaven-defying. When young Master Qian saw this, his face became extremely ugly. His entire body became ferocious as he roared crazily. Impossible, damn it, this is impossible. How could he cut out so many crystals? Damn you guys, did you wear your clothes properly? The next moment young Master Qian looked at the old man selling the stones, his eyes filled with intense killing intent. He even suspected that this was a trap set up for him. This scene caused everyone to be shocked. Crimson Dragon sneered and walked up. He stared at young Master Qian and sneered. Are you still arrogant? Hurry up and eat all the stone skin on the ground, then kneel down and kowtow to us to apologize. The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect this to happen. Young Master Qian's face was even uglier, as if he had eaten a dead rat. Hearing the other party's words, he wanted to die even more. Previously, he was extremely arrogant and offered such conditions because he was very confident in himself. He believed that he would never lose, but now, he had lost. This surprised him greatly. Damn it, I don't believe it! You cheated. You must have colluded. Humph, aren't you just trying to trick me? I won't fall for it. Young Master Qian snorted coldly and turned to leave. Regardless of whether the other party had colluded or not, he wouldn't stay here because it was too embarrassing. You want to leave? It's not that simple. Crimson Dragon's body swayed and immediately blocked the way. At this moment, he had turned into a flaming divine horse and was bathed in flames. He was like an ancient divine beast standing in front of him. You're courting death. How dare you block my young master's path? Do you know who my young master is? Let me tell you, our master is an elder of the Yin Yin sect. If you offend us, we'll slap you to death. Is that so? The elder is very arrogant. But so what? We didn't force him to say those conditions earlier. He was the one who said them himself. Now he wants to go back on his words after losing. How can there be such a thing in the world? Chapter 1916. Is that so? The elder is so arrogant. But so what? We didn't force him to say those conditions earlier. He was the one who said them himself. Now that he has lost, he wants to go back on his word. How can there be such a thing in this world? As expected, the surrounding martial artists were in a heated discussion. That's right. He went back on his word and is the child of the Yin Yun sect's elder. That's too untrustworthy. Has the Yin Yun sect fallen to such a state? The hearts of the people are not what they used to be. They don't even want to honor the agreement. Discussions broke out. Obviously, the crowd was very dissatisfied. After all, they had seen what had happened previously. Young Master Qian had been so arrogant. If Lin Xian had been the one who had lost, young Master Qian would not have let him off. Get lost! Young Master Qian's face was cold. He would not honor his promise. He would rather kill him than kowtow and admit his guilt. His servant also had a ferocious look on his face. Then, the power in his body suddenly erupted. A long blue saber appeared in his hand and slashed forward like ice. Damn beast, how dare you block my young master's path? Die! The blue saber in the sky turned into a stream of light and slashed toward the Crimson Dragon. Wherever it passed, layers of blue frost would form, causing the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly. Oh my, how dare you attack Ben Wang? You really don't know your place. When the Crimson Dragon saw this, he sneered. He lifted his 2 front hooves and stomped forward. Boom, boom! Boom! 2 deep sounds were heard. The blue saber in the sky was instantly broken into 2. The servant's chest caved in, and he was sent flying. Damn it, how dare you retaliate! When young Master Qian saw this, his face was extremely ferocious. He did not expect the other party to retaliate. Die, you bastard! He was enraged. He was really enraged. When he struck out with his palms, 2 balls of white mist appeared in his hands. They were like 2 wispy clouds. Then, he slammed his palms forward. Firmament palm! Yen Yun's sect's ultimate skill was displayed at this moment. It was as if endless clouds were rolling and a terrifying gale engulfed everything. The Crimson Dragon sneered disdainfully because young Master Qian was only a 6-star king. Such a person was not enough in his eyes. Therefore, he waved his shoelaces again. The fiery red light and the vast power of the shoelaces were like a red mountain as they blasted forward. Pung! The clouds churned and were directly torn apart. The red hoof directly kicked young Master Qian. Clang! At the critical moment, a white armor appeared on young Master Qian's body and blocked this shocking attack. However, his body continued to retreat, causing the ground to crack. How is this possible? How can a beast be so strong? Young Master Qian's face was filled with shock. He was a 6-star king realm, and he had even used the firmament palm strike. Yet, he was still unable to do anything to his opponent. He couldn't believe it. However, he knew that the other party might be a mutated species of heaven and earth, and was a powerful demon king. Therefore, he changed his strategy. He turned around and stared at Lin Xian. Kid, go to hell! He directly charged towards Lin Xian. This was because he didn't sense any terrifying aura from Lin Xian. Therefore, he felt that the other party wasn't powerful at all. Whoosh! Countless white clouds surged out of young Master Qian's body, causing his figure to become ethereal. In an instant, he turned into a ghost and disappeared into the air. Cloud mist step. What a terrifying step technique! Young Master Qian's skills are indeed extraordinary. The surrounding crowd exclaimed because they could no longer see young Master Qian's figure. Lin Xian was very calm because he didn't need to do anything. At this moment, old monster Dugu, who was beside him, snorted coldly and stood in front of Lin Xian. Then he slapped out. Boom! A terrifying palm descended from the sky, and the surrounding space instantly froze. Everyone felt their bodies tighten as if a pair of demonic claws had grabbed their throats, and they couldn't breathe. And in the air, young Master Qian's figure also appeared. His face was filled with shock and confusion. He couldn't believe that the other party had easily broken through his steps. Damn it, how is this possible? Who is he? How can he be so powerful? Young Master Qian stared at the black-clothed old man in shock. His scalp went numb, and he wanted to escape. Because he couldn't see the other party's true strength at all. Old Monster Dugas sneered and grabbed young Master Qian with his big hand like a demon king. Then, as if he was carrying a chicken, he brought young Master Qian to his side. Bang! He kicked young Master Qian's leg, and young Master Qian immediately knelt on the ground in the direction of Lin Xian. Damn it, you dare to make me kneel? You're dead meat. My father is an elder of the Yen Yun sect. So what? What does it have to do with me? Old Monster Duga sneered. He didn't care about the elder of the Yen Yun sect. Because even if he caused a huge disaster, he could find a barren mountain and hide for 8 to 10 years, and the other party wouldn't be able to find him. Ah! Young Master Qian roared angrily. He realized that this kind of threat was useless. So he had to rely on himself. In his body, the cloud-like mist exploded again, turning into a large white palm that soared into the sky from his body and slapped towards old Monster Dugu. It's useless. Stop struggling! Old Monster Dugu pointed with his finger and directly pierced the large white palm. Then, he sealed all the spiritual energy in young Master Qian's body. Then, he stepped on the other party's head and made him kowtow. A gentleman never goes back on his word. Since you said such an agreement, you have to accept the punishment if you lose. Old Monster Dugu said coldly. He had already cowed out, so it was time to eat the stone skin. With a flip of his palm, the stone skin on the ground quickly spun and surged towards his palm. It turned into a ball. No, you can't do this to me. Young Master Qian's expression was incomparably ugly. He had already kowtowed in front of the other party and had lost face. But he didn't expect the other party to make him eat the stone skin. This was even worse than killing him. However, he couldn't resist at all and could only be forced to swallow the stone skin. What? He really kowtowed and ate it. The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect the black-clothed old man to be so powerful that he even dared to provoke the Yan Yun sect. Who are they? Aren't they too strong? Who knows? They must be fierce people. But I don't think the Yan Yun sect will let this go. Young Master Qian's eyes were red and filled with killing intent. He was like a crazy beast. He stared fiercely at Lin Xian and the black-clothed old man, gritted his teeth and roared. Damn it, just you wait. I will definitely not let you off. When my father comes, I will kill all of you and tear your bodies into pieces. Scram! Old Monster Dugu waved his sleeve and sent young Master Qian flying. He sneered and said, If you have the ability, let your elder father come. I will take you on. Chapter 1917. Get lost! Old Monster Dugu waved his sleeve and sent young Master Qian flying. Let's go too, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. He looked around and found that there were no good stones here. At most, there were a few kilograms of crystals, which was nothing to him. Therefore, it was better to wait for the stone gambling convention to officially begin tomorrow. Soon the night passed. The next day, when the sun had just risen, everyone in the Dragon Transformation Lake was excited. Because today was the beginning of the stone gambling convention. Guards formed by the 5 great holy lands appeared in front of them. They were going to check everyone's invitations. Anyone without an invitation would be asked to leave. Lin Xian followed behind the crowd and waited quietly. However, when it was his turn, one of the guards said coldly, Your pet can't be brought in. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. Because he clearly saw that many people had brought their pets in before, and they were not stopped. However, he was stopped. Obviously, there was a conspiracy. He spread out his soul power and found that young Master Qian from yesterday was hiding in the dark and sneering. It seemed that he was the one behind this. This time, the Crimson Dragon was also angry. He said coldly, You're the pet. Ben Wang will kick you to death. He was too angry. The other party actually called him a pet. It was unforgivable. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Those people in front can go in. Why can't we? Are you deliberately looking for trouble? Impudent! The guard shouted coldly. Kid, don't you know where you are? How dare you question us? We have the final say here. If we say you can't go in, then you can't go in. Is that so? Lin Xian snorted. Golden runes flashed in his eyes. Buzz! Suddenly, the arrogant guard's body trembled, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. Then, it turned into a dull look. Can I go in now? Lin Xian asked indifferently. Yes, young master, please go in, the guard said respectfully. Then, he bowed and said, I have offended you before. Please don't blame me. Seeing this scene, the surrounding guards were all stunned. Young Master Qian, who was hiding in the shadows, was even more stunned, as if he had seen a ghost. This shouldn't be the case. This was completely different from what he had expected. How could the other party admit defeat? He stood rooted to the ground. On the other side, Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, and Old Monster Dugu strode forward. Finally, they arrived at the stone gambling convention. In front of him was a jade-green lake that emitted a dense spiritual energy, forming a faint mist on the surface. Around the Dragon Transformation Lake, there were many exquisite stalls with all kinds of stones placed there. There were all kinds of colors and shapes. Looking from afar, there was a sea of people and strange rocks all over the place. It could really be called a flourishing age. Not only that, but Lin Xian could also see almighty-level existences everywhere. There were even some people who were even more terrifying. They had white hair and were very old, but the aura in their bodies was extremely terrifying, even surpassing that of the Almighties. Lin Xian knew that those people were living fossils. He did not expect that the stone gambling convention would attract so many experts. This time, even old Monster Dugu restrained his temper. Although he was usually very arrogant, in front of so many Almighties and living fossils, he really did not have the right to be arrogant. Although there were many Almighties, compared to the sea of warriors, they were still sparse and pitiful. Therefore, under normal circumstances, they would not encounter any Almighties. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked around. Then, he walked towards a shop. As soon as he approached, he heard the crowd discussing. This shop is not ordinary. I heard that the stones here were all obtained from the Black Wind Mine. Black Wind Mine? No way, that's a very famous mine. It's said that it has something to do with the Primordium Ancient Mine, and it's very close. What do you know? The Black Wind Mine used to be very famous, but it's almost gone in recent years. At this moment, a young man said coldly. What nonsense are you talking about? How can it be gone? We've all heard of the Black Wind Mine. Yeah, don't you know? Don't talk nonsense here. The others were dissatisfied, while the young man snorted coldly. He revealed a jade pendant on his waist. An azure dragon was engraved on it. Seeing this jade pendant, many people cried out in surprise. Ouyang family! What? He's from the Ouyang family? Everyone was shocked and did not dare to speak anymore. The Ouyang family was a family of spirit seekers. The people who came out of it were definitely incomparably terrifying. Since he said so, it might be true. However, there were still people who did not give up. After all, the Black Wind Mine was too famous. It was close to the Primordium Mine, and many treasures had been cut out from the stones of the Black Wind Mine. Therefore, it caused everyone's hearts to burn. Humph! As for the young man from the Ouyang family, he snorted coldly, turned around, and left. Black Wind Mine? Lin Xian was puzzled. Is it very famous? To be honest, although his ocular technique was unparalleled, his understanding of these mine veins was indeed inferior to other martial artists. Apart from the very famous Life Forbidden Zone, the Primordium Ancient Mine, he had never heard of any other mine veins. Not to mention the Black Wind Mine. Although Lin Xian whispered, it was still heard by the surrounding martial artists. Following that, those people turned around and looked at Lin Xian in surprise. Damn, brother, it can't be. Where did you come from? You haven't even heard of the Black Point Mine? Heavens, are you sure you're here to gamble on stones? Moreover, some people did not believe that there was someone in this world who did not know about the Black Wind Mine. Not to mention these people, even old Monster Dugu at the side was also extremely surprised. Previously, he saw Lin Xian easily cut out more than 10 caddies of crystal stones, which shocked him. In his opinion, Lin Xian must have mastered some kind of powerful spirit-seeking technique to be able to find strange stones so easily. But now, he was puzzled again. Because the other party's knowledge was too limited. He did not even know about the Black Wind Mine. Was he really a spirit-seeking master? He was very doubtful. Seeing everyone's doubts, Su Chen was speechless, so he lied. I just came out of the mountains, so I don't know what's going on outside. This time, I saw that there was a commotion, so I came to take a look. So that's how it is. Everyone came to a realization and then said enthusiastically, Brother, let me tell you, the Black Wind Mine is very famous. It's close to the Primordium Ancient Mine. In the past, treasures were often cut out. For example, divine crystals, ancient spiritual herbs, and the remains of ancient weapons. In short, there are many such rare treasures. So, this Black Wind Mine is very famous. Chapter 1918. So that's how it is. After Lin Xian heard this, he finally understood. Since the black wind or vein was so famous, he would play with it. Thinking of this, He did not go anywhere else. Instead, he stood there and watched. His eyes flickered as he looked forward. He skimmed over the stones in front of him one by one. These stones were of different sizes. Some were yellow, some were black, and some were brown. Moreover, some of the stones had a crack in the middle, but it was not deep. Some people even picked up such stones and shone the cracks under the sun, but they could not see the situation inside at all. The eyes of a few experts in the surroundings flickered like divine rainbows as they stared at these stones, trying to see the situation inside clearly. However, these stones were all transported from ore veins, and those ore veins had been buried underground for tens of thousands of years. They contained divine power. Ordinary probing would not be able to see clearly, unless there were some very magical eye techniques or methods. For example, a seeker spirit master or gambling with luck. However, there were times when a seeker spirit master would make a mistake, and it was even more difficult to say if one relied on luck. Each of the stones here was very expensive. If there was nothing inside after a cut, then it would be a huge loss. Ordinary kings would not be able to afford it. The stall owner was a middle-aged man in a red robe. He looked at the crowd that was gathering and said loudly, "Everyone, I'm sure you know the rules of stone gambling. High revenge also means high risk. If you like any stone, buy it. There might be divine crystals inside. Of course, if you can't cut it out, don't complain. That's how stone gambling is." Hearing this, everyone nodded and discussed from time to time. Indeed, they also knew about these things, so they were exceptionally solemn. After all, the price of these stones was not low. At this moment, Lin Xian walked through the crowd and came to the front. He looked at the stones and asked in a deep voice, "Boss, how much are you selling these stones? The ones with openings are 80 kilograms of crystals. The ones without openings are 50 kilograms of crystals." Lin Xian nodded, indicating that he understood. Then, his eyes flickered, and runes flickered. He stared at a stone that was half a meter tall. Through the heavenly secret divine eyes, he could see the scene inside the stone. There were indeed crystals inside, but they were not in the center. Instead, they were in the bottom left corner. The crystals were light green in color. There was one at the bottom left corner, and one at the top right corner. Together, the two of them were the size of a rubber ball. Judging from the quality and quantity of these crystals, they definitely exceeded 50 kilograms of ordinary crystals. Therefore, it was not a loss to buy them. Lin Xian decided to buy it to increase his capital. 50 kilograms of crystal stones. I want this stone. Lin Xian pointed at one of the stones and said. The middle-aged boss nodded and said with a smile, "Sir, you can buy it, but there are rules here. If someone offers a higher price to buy this stone within the stipulated time, then the final owner will be the person who offers the highest price. Of course, you can also raise the price. There's such a thing?" Lin Xian stared blankly for a moment before asking eccentric Dugu. Old Monster Dugu said, "There is indeed such a rule, but it has to be done within half an incense stick's time." After Lin Xian heard this, he understood. Since that was the case, he would also follow the rules. Seeing that Lin Xian was the first to choose a stone so quickly, the surrounding people began to discuss spiritedly. "So fast? Isn't it a little sloppy? I didn't see him use any strange spirit-seeking technique. Could it be that he's dreaming and wants to try his luck? He looks so familiar. I've seen him before. Right, it's him. Yesterday, he competed with the people of Swallow Cloud sect and got 10 kilograms of crystal stones. At that time, he quickly chose a stone. Everyone thought it was a waste stone. Who would have thought that he would get 10 kilograms of crystal stones? What? There's such a thing!" The surrounding people were shocked as they looked at Lin Xian in confusion. However, they still did not believe it. After all, 50 kilograms of crystal stones was not a small amount, so they all watched. However, at this moment, a middle-aged man in a green robe walked over. The middle-aged man's face was pale, but his eyes were very spirited. His fingers were very wide, and he wore a black plate on his thumb that emitted a mysterious power and a faint light. The middle-aged man in a green robe came to the front of the stall and looked carefully. Soon, he stared at the stone that Lin Xian had chosen. The next moment, he stretched out his finger and touched the stone. The black ring flickered with strange runes. The middle-aged man in a green robe frowned, and his eyes were shining. After a while, he pulled back his palm. The stall owner said, "Fellow cultivator, this young master has already bid for 50 kilograms of crystal stones. If you want it, the price must be higher than that." Hearing that, the middle-aged man in a green robe glanced at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "I'll bid 150 kilograms of crystal stones. 150 kilograms!" The crowd exclaimed. They did not expect the middle-aged man in a green robe to bid such a high price. Lin Xian was also surprised. Did the middle-aged man also notice the crystal stones? However, although he was surprised, he quickly calmed down. After all, many experts from the eastern wilderness had gathered at the stone gambling convention. If he could see it, the other experts could naturally see it too. However, there was no need for him to buy the 150 kilograms of crystal stones. Because even if he bought it, he would not earn much. Therefore, he shook his head and did not raise the price again. After waiting for a while and seeing that no one else was bidding, the stall owner said, "Fellow cultivator, this stone is yours." The middle-aged man in a green robe gave the crystal stones, took the half-meter tall stone, and nodded slightly. He did not leave. Instead, he directly cut the stone on the spot. Seeing that someone was cutting the stone in public, the surrounding people immediately exclaimed and were extremely excited. After all, compared to buying the stone, cutting the stone was more exciting. "Someone is cutting the stone in public!" When the surrounding people saw that, they quickly gathered. Very quickly, the stall was packed to the brim. The middle-aged man in a green robe looked serious. His eyes flickered as he looked at the stone in front of him. Then, he pulled out a small black knife. The small knife was very simple. It was neither gold nor stone. No one knew what material it was made of. At this moment, the middle-aged man in a green robe held it in his hand. The surrounding people also held their breaths. They knew that no one could disturb him at this time. Whoosh! The middle-aged man in a green robe cut the stone from the middle. He cut it very carefully. Soon, he had to stop and watch. However, when he cut 1/3 of the stone, there was still no light. The surrounding people also began to discuss. "What's going on? There's still no light. Could it be a useless stone?" Chapter 1919. Not necessarily. What's the rush? It's only 1/3 of the way through. Usually, things will be in the center. It's still early. If it's in the center, doesn't that mean that even if it's a treasure, it's very small? Could it be that it's a loss? What do you know? Someone sneered. Treasures aren't judged by their size. A divine crystal the size of a fingernail or 50 kilograms of ordinary crystals. Which one do you choose? Hearing this, many people stopped talking. Even if it was a divine crystal the size of a fingernail, its value and energy were definitely incomparable to ordinary crystals. Legend had it that divine crystals contained mysterious power and were extremely mysterious. The green-robed middle-aged man naturally knew this, so even if there was no light after 1/3 of the way through, he could still remain calm. His palm was very steady as he slowly cut off the stone's skin. However, the green-robed middle-aged man soon broke out in a cold sweat, and even his expression became very ugly. That was because he had already cut half of the way through, but there was still no light. This meant that he might have misjudged, and the stone might be a waste. Not only him, but the surrounding crowd also began to discuss. It's already half of the way through, but there's still no light. This should be a waste stone without a doubt. Those who believed firmly before were also shaken because under normal circumstances, treasures would be in the center of the stone. However, there was no light at this point, which meant that there was no treasure. At this moment, they could no longer find a reason to think that the stone in front of them was a treasure. Lin Xian's expression was calm. He knew that there was definitely a crystal in the stone, but the other party had cut it in the wrong place. However, at this moment, another person spoke. It was an old man with gray hair and a hooked nose. He gave off a gloomy and cold feeling. He said in a deep voice, "Fellow cultivator, it's already half of the way through. Do you still want to cut it? If you don't want to continue, I'll buy this stone for 15 kilograms of crystals. What do you think?" Hearing this, the surrounding people were in an uproar. It was already a waste stone, but someone still wanted to buy it. Could it be that there was something fishy about this stone? For a moment, many people were tempted. However, the gray-haired old man just snorted coldly, and an extremely powerful aura surged from his body, intimidating everyone. Feeling this terrifying aura, many people closed their mouths. As for the gray-haired old man, he looked to the front and asked, "What do you think?" The green-robed middle-aged man pondered for a moment, and then shook his head. "No need, I'll continue." To be honest, he was very confident in his spirit-seeking technique. He clearly felt that this stone contained a huge amount of spiritual power. There must be a treasure inside, but why couldn't it be cut out? Moreover, he had only cut half of it. He had seen some treasures under the stones before. Therefore, he would not give up or admit defeat until the very last moment. Seeing that the other party was still persisting, the gray-haired elder harumphed coldly before retreating back into the crowd. The middle-aged man with the green bump waved his arm again. The black dagger seemed to have turned into a poisonous snake, swallowing and spitting out light as it continued to cut the stone. Crack, crack. In the end, the half-meter-tall rock was cut in half, but no crystal appeared. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. After all, he had spent 150 kilograms of crystal stones to buy this stone. Now that he had nothing to cut out, he was naturally losing money. The gray-haired old man sneered with a hint of schadenfreude. "Impossible! My senses can't be wrong! There must be a crystal stone inside." The green-robed man could not accept this situation. Then, he waved the dagger in his hand and two black rays of light shot out. Like the Styx River, they slashed towards the stone. Once again, the stone that had been cut in half was cut into 4 halves. However, there was still nothing to be seen. Seeing this, his expression was very ugly. He did not expect that he would make a mistake on his first try. This was not good news for him. The lonely old monster heaved a sigh of relief because this thing was originally bought by Lin Xian. Fortunately, it was snatched away by someone else. Otherwise, if Lin Xian bought it, he would definitely waste 100 kilograms of crystal stones. The Crimson Dragon was also surprised. He knew Lin Xian's strength, but he did not expect that there was nothing inside. Therefore, he asked, "Kid, what's going on? Did you make a mistake too?" Lin Xian shook his head slightly. "I didn't make a mistake. There are indeed crystals inside, and there are quite a few of them. However, he cut in the wrong place. The crystals are in the lower left and upper right corner. He didn't touch those 2 places at all." "I see." The Crimson Dragon understood. It turned out that the green-robed middle-aged man was quite pitiful. However, at that moment, Lin Xian spoke up. "Fellow Taoist, I'll pay you 10 nephrite crystals for these rocks. Are you willing to sell them to me?" "What? Someone else is bidding?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned and revealed a look of disbelief. "These are useless stones. The ones underground are even more worthless. Why would someone buy them? Is there something wrong with his brain? Or he has too much money and nowhere to spend it? It's this kid again. He wanted to buy this stone before, but he didn't get it. Now he wants the fragments of those useless stones. What is he trying to do? Who knows? He's probably a rich second-generation heir. He has a lot of crystals and can spend them however he wants." Discussions broke out one after another. However, everyone thought that Lin Xian must be out of his mind to buy a piece of scrap rock that had been cut off. In the crowd, even the gray-haired old man from before sneered. Previously, he thought that the stone might still contain treasures, but now that it had been cut in half, how could there still be treasures? Now that someone was bidding, it was purely a waste of the crystals in his hands. The green-robed middle-aged man was also surprised, but he still nodded and agreed. After all, if he could get back 10 caddies of crystals, it would be less of a loss. Seeing that the other party agreed, Lin Xian ignored the others and gave the other party 10 crystals. Then, he waved his hand and put away the 4 pieces of gravel on the ground. He really bought it. No way, is he out of his mind? Who knows? Ignore this kid. He's probably a hothead who doesn't know anything. Everyone shook their heads and ignored him. Instead, they looked at the other stones. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was very satisfied. These people actually dared to mock him. What idiots! This time, he had made a huge bargain. The crystals inside were about 75 to 60 caddies, so he was willing to buy the 100 caddies. However, he wouldn't buy the 150 caddies, because there was no profit to be made. But now, he only spent 10 caddies of crystals and bought 150 to 10 caddies of crystals. Among them, he earned more than 140 caddies of crystals for free. This was not a small amount. It was enough for him to cultivate for a while. Chapter 1920. However, old Monster Dugu did not know. He felt that Lin Xian really had nowhere to spend his money. He actually bought useless stones. The Crimson Dragon was happy. This feeling of making a fortune was simply awesome. However, hearing the sneers and ridicule of the people around him, the Crimson Dragon was very unhappy. He pulled Lin Xian and said, "Kid, why don't you cut it here? I want to see what kind of expression these people will have after you cut it out." All right. Lin Xian was also unhappy to be ridiculed by so many people, so he planned to cut the stones on the side. Oh my God, it's real! On the side, the corner of old Monster Dugu's mouth twitched. He had already been ridiculed for a long time when he bought these 4 broken stones. Now, this young master in front of him was going to cut the stones in front of everyone. And these were 4 pieces of useless stones. Wasn't this deliberately looking for a joke? Old Monster Dugu felt like running away. He could not afford to lose this old face. I say, old man, what's with your expression? You don't believe us, do you? The Crimson Dragon saw old Monster Dugu's expression and was immediately unhappy. He leaned over and said, "What, do you think it's embarrassing? Don't worry, this kid's strength is far beyond your imagination. Just wait, when the time comes, they will be the ones to be dumbfounded." Hee hee. Hearing this, old Monster Dugu rolled his eyes. He did not believe such words, so he used his mana. Immediately, a purple mist formed a mask on his face, revealing only his 2 eyes. It was best for him to cover his face now so that he would not embarrass himself when the time came. On the other side, Lin Xian was preparing to cut the stones. He used his fingers like a knife, and a bright light appeared on his palm, turning into a sharp blade. This light naturally attracted the attention of others. Immediately, the people who were surrounding the stall turned their heads. When they saw that Lin Xian was actually going to cut those useless stones, they all began to discuss. Look, this kid is really going to cut these useless stones. No, it's better to just find a random stone in the mountains. I reckon that's better than this. Sigh, young people nowadays don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They think that they can cut out a treasure from a piece of rock. I reckon that kid is going to cry in a while. Let's watch the show properly. Many people sneered and turned their heads to stare at Lin Xian. They decided to watch the show. Lin Xian coldly snorted. He used his fingers as a blade and chopped down with lightning speed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lin Xian attacked ruthlessly and decisively. His fingers moved like a swimming dragon. Light flickered and shattered rocks fell from the sky. What the hell, so fast? What does he want? Are they going to cut the rock, or are they going to cut the rock into pieces? When those people saw this scene, they were even more stunned. Big brother, are you here to show off your stone-cutting skills? That must be it. It's definitely not for the sake of cutting the stone. However, some of the old men sneered. There can't be anything good inside. He's just showing off. He might as well cut it and see if it's practical. If he can cut out a crystal, I'll eat all of these rocks. Buzz! However, at that moment, Lin Xian chopped down again. Immediately, a green light flashed and rushed in all directions. A ray of light came out from the waste rock. The strong aura was intoxicating, and the spiritual power in their bodies was mobilized. The green light seemed to be jade green, and it carried a faint glow that enveloped the surroundings. Everyone was extremely shocked and could not believe it. There were crystals inside a waste rock, and they seemed to be of good quality. Heavens, how is that possible? That's a waste rock. How can there be anything inside? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Hit me twice and see if I'm dreaming. Damn it, this kid's luck is too good, isn't it? He just randomly picked up 2 stones, and he can cut out a crystal? His luck is too good. Exclamations could be heard. Soon, the surrounding warriors looked over. The green-robed middle-aged man and the gray-robed old man in the crowd were even more shocked when they saw this scene. Especially the green-robed middle-aged man. His face was really green this time. He thought about how he had been cutting for such a long time and did not find a single crystal. But now, the other party had cut out 2 pieces of waste rock and found a crystal. It was a slap to his face. Everyone held their breaths and watched quietly. Ling Xian's speed was getting faster and faster. Soon, a semicircular crystal appeared in front of everyone. It was half the size of a soccer ball. The emerald green light shone like a top-grade jade. Damn it, it's such a big piece. How much did this kid spend to buy it? This piece must be 70 to 80 kilograms, right? This kid spent 10 crystals to buy it, but he actually cut out 70 to 80 kilograms of crystal. Damn it, this is simply heaven-defying. God, this kid might be a Seeker Spirit Master. What kind of possibility is that? He must be a Seeker Spirit Master. Otherwise, how could he cut out such a crystal from waste rock? Everyone was discussing animatedly, and there was an uproar. The gray-robed old man also had a face full of regret. Why didn't he buy it back then? If he had bought it, these crystals would be his now. The green-robed middle-aged man's breathing was even more rapid. That was waste rock. A piece of waste rock could produce 70 to 80 kilograms of crystal. He had spent 150 kilograms of crystal, but he didn't even get a single crystal. Wasn't this gap a little too big? The Crimson Dragon snorted coldly. This was nothing. There was still a piece that hadn't been cut. When he cut out another 70 to 80 kilograms, let's see if you'll still mock him. He was extremely proud now. He thought about how these people had mocked him and thought that he was an idiot. But now, feeling the amazed and worshipful gazes of these people, the Crimson Dragon was in a good mood. Beside him, old Monster Duga's eyes widened in disbelief. What the hell was going on? How could he cut out so many crystals from a piece of waste rock? Pa, he slapped himself in the face. Old man, it's boring to slap yourself in the face. Do you want me to slap you? The Crimson Dragon walked over. No, there's no need. I believe it's true. I believe it. Old Monster Duga wanted to cry but had no tears. He realized that the young man in front of him was simply a monster. Soon, Lin Xian's second crystal was cut out. It was another 70 to 80 kilograms of crystal. The two of them together weighed a total of 150 to 60 kilograms. This result made everyone go crazy. The green-robed middle-aged man spat out a large mouthful of blood. This was because he was angry. He had spent 150 kilograms of crystal, but he didn't get a single crystal. The other party only spent 10 kilograms of crystal, but he got 150 kilograms. The organization earned more than 140 kilograms. What kind of method was this? Perhaps even powerful spirit seeker families like the Ouyang family and the Tuoba family might not be able to do it. Heavens, who was this kid? Which family did he belong to? I don't know. He doesn't look like he's from the Ouyang family. He shouldn't be from the Tuoba family either. Could he be from another family? Chapter 1921. Sir, are you interested in joining us? Don't worry, I'll pay for it. We'll split the items equally. What's the point of splitting it evenly? Let's split it 30 to 70. A group of people came to rope in Lin Xian. Obviously, they were extremely shocked by such a powerful spirit-seeking technique. If they could bring such a person to their side, they might be able to cut out divine crystals. As long as they could cut out a piece of divine crystal, they would be rich. Lin Xian rejected all of these invitations. That was because his goal this time was also the divine crystals. Moreover, he would not team up with these people. However, at this moment, he frowned. That was because he felt that there was a hidden killing intent in the crowd that was surging towards him. In the next moment, he turned his head to look. He saw a gray-robed old man standing in the crowd with an abnormally cold expression. There was a gray light in his eyes that flickered with a strange power. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. His voice carried a powerful soul power that directly exploded in the gray-robed old man's ear. Puff! In the next moment, the gray-robed old man's body trembled. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, and his face was filled with fear. He turned around and fled. He did not dare to stay here at all. The surrounding people looked at each other in dismay. They were extremely shocked and did not know what had happened. Lin Xian, on the other hand, snorted coldly. The other party actually dared to have ideas about him. He really did not know what was good for him. Next, Lin Xian did not leave. Instead, he went to the front to prepare and continued to choose stones. The surrounding people made way for him in a very respectful manner. The owner of the stall was also breathing heavily. He did not expect that the other party would have such a powerful spirit-seeking technique. Thinking of this, he immediately grinned. Because with such a spirit-seeking master, it would definitely be a huge advertisement. He believed that it would not be long before his stall would definitely become famous. Thinking of this, he hurriedly said, I didn't expect you to be a powerful spirit-seeking master. I hope you can forgive me for not treating you well before. How about this, sir? The stones you choose here will be sold at a 10% discount. Hearing this, the surrounding crowd was even more shocked and envious. Although it was only a 10% discount, it could save a lot of crystals. Thank you very much. Lin Xian also smiled. He didn't think that the identity of a seeker spirit master would be so useful. In the next moment, his eyes flickered. Mysterious symbols revolved around him as he looked at the stones in front of him. Soon, he chose another 2 stones. The 2 stones added up to 200 kilograms of crystal stones. After the 10% discount, it was 180 kilograms of crystal stones. Lin Xian paid the money and took the 2 stones to his side. One of them was gray, and there were spots all over it. The other piece was strangely shaped, like a dog. These 2 stones were very strange and attracted the attention of everyone. However, the more bizarre its appearance was, the more one had to be careful. This was because these strange-looking stones often had nothing inside them. Many of these people were veterans, so they had heard of such things countless times. When they saw that Lin Xian had actually chosen 2 such peculiar stones, they all frowned. No way, he actually chose 2 hollow heart stones. Many people cried out in surprise, while others asked, Hollow stone, what is that? A hollow heart stone is a stone that looks strange on the outside, but has no treasures inside. Hearing this, everyone suddenly understood and looked at Lin Xian. They began to discuss. Since everyone knew about these stones, why did he choose them? Could it be that he has a special opinion? Not necessarily. These stones most likely don't have anything good inside. I'm guessing that this guy was just lucky before. Is that so? No wonder. Perhaps he really can't cut anything out of them. Voices of discussion rose. The middle-aged man in the green robe from before didn't leave either. He stood there and watched. When he saw that Lin Xian had chosen 2 hollow heart stones, he immediately sneered. This guy must have been lucky before to be able to cut out so many crystals. Now that he chose the hollow heart stone, it directly exposed his ignorance. Just you wait. This time, he will definitely lose everything. The middle-aged man in the green robe watched gloatingly from the side. Old Monster Dugu also became suspicious again. He asked softly, "Young master, this is a hollow heart stone. Are you confident? Don't lose anything." "Hollow heart stone? What's that?" Lin Xian shook his head. He had never heard of these names. The next moment, he said indifferently, "Well, old man, come here. I'll give you a chance. Now, cut this stone." He handed the dog-shaped stone to Old Monster Dugu. "What? You want me to cut it? Are you sure?" Old Monster Dugu was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Xian to do such a thing. "Yes, don't worry. Cut it boldly." With that, Lin Xian gave the other black-mottled stone to the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon was also excited. He had been impatient for a long time. He knew that Lin Xian's eye technique was extremely powerful. In other words, there must be treasures in this stone. Next, it was time for him to show off his skills. "Haha, you guys just wait. Ben Wan will definitely cut out a supreme-grade divine crystal." Old Monster Dugu also took a deep breath. His expression was abnormally solemn. Since Lin Xian asked him to cut, he wouldn't hesitate. The next moment, he waved his hand and pulled out a small purple knife. He prepared to cut the stone. His hand was very steady, like a boulder. Moreover, his knife technique was very precise. Every time he cut the stone, he didn't miss a single detail. As more and more stone fell, the expressions of the surrounding cultivators became more and more solemn. At this moment, everyone's attention was attracted by the stone in front of them. After about half an hour, Old Monster Dugu had only cut a third of it. His breathing was steady, but there was some doubt in his eyes. This was because he didn't quite believe that there would be treasures in this hollow heart stone. Buzz! However, after a few more cuts, a bright light suddenly lit up. It was like a cloud of fire, floating in the air. "Treasure! There's a treasure! He really cut it out!" When everyone saw this scene, they cried out in surprise again. They didn't expect that a treasure could be cut out from the hollow heart stone. Old Monster Dugu was also extremely shocked. His eyes were filled with excitement. However, he soon took a deep breath and stabilized his emotions. Then, he carefully cut off the outer layer of stone. Gradually, the red crystal was revealed. Although only a palm-sized side was revealed, everyone could still see that the crystal was completely red and had a very uniform color. There was a faint stream of light rotating inside, emitting a dense spiritual power. Not only that, under the sunlight, mysterious patterns appeared on the red crystal, as if a ball of fire had begun to burn. Chapter 1922. "This is a fire cloud crystal!" An old man cried out in surprise, looking very excited. He was an elder of a large sect and was very knowledgeable. Naturally, he recognized the crystal that was like a cloud of fire. Seeing that someone was confused, the elder explained that other than ordinary crystals, supreme-grade sub-divine crystals, and deity crystals, there was an extremely special kind of crystal known as the xenogeneic crystal. Although they were not as valuable as real deity crystals, they were much better than supreme-grade sub-divine crystals. Moreover, the fire cloud crystal contained pure fire attribute energy. If a king who cultivated the fire attribute obtained it, he would be able to cultivate with twice the result with half the effort. "What? This is a xenogeneic crystal that surpasses supreme-grade sub-divine crystals!" Everyone exclaimed with their eyes wide open. They did not expect that one of the two hollow stones that Fang Xingzhan had randomly selected would contain such a xenogeneic crystal. The Crimson Dragon stopped cutting the stone and said with a smile, "Who dares to say that we are relying on luck now?" Hearing that, everyone fell silent. The first time was luck, the second time was luck, but what about the third time? His luck could not be so good all the time. Moreover, it was a xenogeneic crystal this time. This meant that the young man in front of them had an extremely powerful spirit-seeking technique. Otherwise, he could not be so powerful. The green-robed middle-aged man went crazy. He roared crazily, "Impossible! Damn it! How can he be so powerful?" At the end of his sentence, his hair was disheveled and he ran outside like a madman. Obviously, he was driven crazy by the scene in front of him. However, at this moment, the elder who had explained earlier said with a smile, "Young master, can we have a deal? Mister, can we make a deal? You already have a fire cloud xenogenic, but I'm not sure how big it will be. How about this? I will buy this fire cloud crystal with 500 kilograms of crystals." "What? 500 kilograms of crystals?" Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, clearly stunned by this shocking price. Old Monster Dugger's hand trembled, and the purple dagger in his hand almost fell. He did not expect that the stone he had cut out would be worth 500 kilograms of crystals. Although he was powerful, he was a rogue cultivator after all. Although he had a few thousand kilograms of crystals in his hand, he did not dare to spend it like that. Okay. Lin Xian nodded without hesitation. This was because he had already seen it with his Tianji God eyes. Even if this variant flame cloud gem was cut out, the final price would only be around 500 kilograms of crystal stones. Moreover, there was another benefit to selling it now, which was that it could increase his mysteriousness and raise his status. This made everyone even more convinced that he was a powerful seeker spirit master. Therefore, Lin Xian did not hesitate at all and directly made the deal with the other party. With the 500 kilograms of crystals in hand, Lin Xian stored them in the black earth. The elder waved his hand and put away the rare flame cloud gem. Then, he left the place. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Then, they began to discuss fervently. In the next moment, they all looked at the stone next to the Crimson Dragon, because they also wanted to know if there was a treasure in this hollow stone. Feeling the gazes of so many people, the Crimson Dragon felt the pressure. He asked telepathically, "Kid, tell me if there is a treasure in this stone or not. Otherwise, I will feel uneasy." Lin Xian replied with a smile, "Don't worry, there is a treasure, and its value is not lower than the rare flame cloud gem from before." Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon breathed a sigh of relief. Soon, he spat out red lightning and began to cut the stone. Crackle! The light flashed and the momentum was terrifying, but the Crimson Dragon controlled it very precisely, and did not damage anything inside. The stone's skin quickly fell off. Everyone held their breaths and was extremely nervous, because they were now 80% confident that there was a treasure in it. Buzz! At this moment, a blue light appeared and formed a river in the sky, making splashing sounds. It's here, there really is a treasure! Moreover, this phenomenon should not be an ordinary crystal. Everyone exclaimed and was extremely excited. The Crimson Dragon also continued to spit out lightning. Then, the crystal inside became bigger and bigger, and was exposed to everyone. This time, it was not completely cut out, only revealing a crystal surface. The crystal was blue, like the ocean and the starry sky, extremely deep. Everyone stared at the water-blue stone in astonishment. With their previous experience, they now knew that this crystal was a xenogenic crystal. And it looked like it was a water xenogenic crystal. Its value was definitely not lower than the flame cloud gem from before. At this moment, a person said in a deep voice, "Young master, don't cut it. I'm willing to buy it for 800 caddies of crystals." Another fat man in purple clothes said loudly, 800 caddies is nothing. I'll pay 1,000 caddies of crystals. I'll pay 1,100 caddies of crystals. A middle-aged woman made the bid. Everyone was shocked and completely dumbfounded. They did not expect that this stone would have such a high price. It was really unbelievable. In the end, the water-type rare crystal was sold for 1,300 caddies of crystals, and it was bought by the middle-aged woman. In just a short while, Lin Xian had more than 2,000 caddies of crystals in his hands. This speed of making money made everyone envious. Lin Xian's reputation also quickly spread. Not long after, most people knew that such a young and incomparably powerful seeker spirit master had appeared. "Young master, you're so powerful. Why don't you go inside and take a look? Legend has it that there are strange stones dug out from the edge of the Primordium ancient mine." "What?" There's such a stone. When Lin Xian heard this, he was also moved. The primordium ancient mine was a forbidden zone for life. Legend had it that even the sacred lord of the sacred land did not dare to enter. Such a forbidden zone for life could be said to be incomparably terrifying. However, after asking around, Lin Xian understood. These strange stones were not obtained from the primordium ancient mine, but from the mines at the edge. Because it was relatively close to the primordium ancient mine, it carried endless mystery. To be honest, Lin Xian was also very curious about such a stone. Thus, he walked towards the dragon transformation lake. There were even more people inside. There was a sea of people, and it was almost impossible to squeeze through. Everyone was here to see those strange stones. Because they could not see them normally, only this time, they could see them up close. Lin Xian relied on the prestige that he had just obtained from cutting the stone, so everyone made way for him. He easily came to the front. He discovered that there were not many stones in front, only a few dozen pieces. The number of these stones was not as many as the ones on a stall outside. However, no one dared to underestimate it. Because these stones were all obtained from the edge of the primordium ancient mine. Incomparably mysterious and extremely evil. Chapter 1923. Moreover, the prices here were very expensive. Ordinary people could only look at them. They couldn't afford them at all. Lin Xian took a look. The cheap ones cost about 700 to 800 kilograms of crystals. Under normal circumstances, they cost about 1,000 kilograms of crystals. The better ones even cost a few thousand kilograms of crystals. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to buy such stones. Because if they couldn't even cut anything out, they would lose a lot of money. Stone gambling was a very evil thing. No one could guarantee that there would be treasures in the stones obtained from the edge of the primordium ancient mine. Have you heard? That kid in front is very powerful. He cut out 2 rare crystals. He's probably a genius from some family of spirit seekers. What? He cut out rare crystals? Which family is he from? He's very unfamiliar. As expected, there will be a genius Lin master at every stone gambling convention. Many people looked at Lin Xian and discussed spiritedly. They were talking about what he had just done. Humph, what genius Lin Xian! How dare he call himself a genius in front of the Tuoba family? At this moment, a disdainful snort sounded. Then, a young man in a black robe with triangular eyes glanced at Lin Xian arrogantly. Kid, which family are you from? Tell me your name. Let me see if you're qualified to be here. It's none of your business. Lin Xian snorted coldly and ignored him. The other party was from the Tuoba family, and he didn't have a good impression of this family. You're courting death. Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that? The black-robed young man's face was gloomy. No one dared to disrespect him. The Crimson Dragon sneered. I don't care who you are. If you dare to be arrogant again, Benwan will kick you to death. No fighting is allowed here. At this moment, a dignified voice sounded. Then, the terrifying aura of an almighty quickly appeared in the surroundings. This was a warning because there were strange stones in front of them. If they fought, just the aftermath of the energy could damage these stones. The price of damaging each stone was great. Therefore, the people from the 5 great holy lands would not allow anyone to fight here. This powerful being level pressure was the first warning. If the other party still did not listen, they would definitely attack immediately and kill the danger in the cradle. Humph! The black-robed young man snorted when he felt the pressure. His face darkened. Even though he was a genius of the Tuoba family, he didn't dare to be impudent here. However, he did not intend to let Lin Xian and the others off so easily. Thus, he coldly said, Brat, didn't you call yourself a seeker spirit master genius? Do you dare to bet with me? I'm going to expose you in front of everyone, you trash. Bet with you? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Are you worthy? Courting death. Do you know who I am? I am Taba Tianfeng. The black-robed young man said proudly. And when the surrounding warriors heard this name, They also exclaimed, "What? It's actually him." Tuoba Tianfeng is the third genius of the Tuoba family's younger generation. Yeah, I didn't expect him to come. I heard that Tuoba Tianfeng's Seeker Spirit skill is extremely terrifying. Even the older generation of Seeker Spirit Masters are no match for him. It's over. That brat offended Tuoba Tianfeng. I'm afraid he's going to be very unlucky. Sounds of discussion could be heard. It was obvious that these people had heard of Tuoba Tianfeng's name. Lin Xian curled his lips. Is Tuoba Tianfeng very famous? I've never heard of him. The Crimson Dragon also had a look of disdain. Yeah, he's only third. What's there to be arrogant about? Brat, hurry up and bring the number one person of your family over for a walk. Hearing this, old Monster Duga's mouth twitched. These two lords were too troublesome. Had they not even heard of Tuoba Tianfeng? How dare they provoke the Tuoba family? Did they not know what kind of existence the Tuoba family was? The surrounding crowd was also in an uproar. After hearing this, Tuoba Tianfeng's face turned cold. Brat, don't be so arrogant here. Do you dare to have a bet with me? A battle of the hands, or a battle between father and son. The Crimson Dragon laughed coldly. You don't know what's good for you. I won't bully you. Tuoba Tianfeng laughed coldly. How about this? Whoever loses will bark like a dog 3 times. How about it? Do you dare? Why wouldn't I dare? Lin Xian said indifferently. I want to hear how your dog barks. Humph! When Tuoba Tianfeng heard this, a murderous look appeared in his eyes. However, now was not the time to make a move. He decided to first defeat Lin Xian in the Seeker Spirit skill. After the stone gambling event, he would kill Lin Xian to vent his anger. In the next moment, a cold light bloomed in his eyes. His gaze was like a divine rainbow. Then, strange runes appeared on his palm, shining with a mysterious power. The surrounding ancient martial art practitioners held their breaths. They knew that the competition was about to begin. This time, the stall owner was a mighty figure. He narrowed his eyes and waited quietly. At this moment, Tuoba Tianfeng was quite extraordinary. The runes in his hand flickered non-stop as they swept across the strange stones. They were like dancing spirits. The crimson rainbow in his eyes was dozens of feet long. It was as if it could pierce through everything in the world. What a terrifying eye technique! In the crowd, some of the older generation exclaimed. They were all powerful Seeker Spirit Masters, but they felt a strong sense of defeat in front of this young man. Soon, a smile appeared on Tuoba Tianfeng's face. He chose a stone and said in a clear voice, "We're together." It was a stone that was half the height of a human and shaped like a spiritual monkey. It contained boundless spiritual energy. One could tell at a glance that it was real. Seeing this, the stall owner nodded his head slightly. He was also an extremely powerful Seeker Spirit Master. When he saw that Tuoba Tianfeng had chosen the spiritual monkey, he said in a low voice, "This stone is not bad. After my appraisal, there should be a treasure in it. It's just that I wonder what the rating of this treasure is like." Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. If even the Almighty said so, then this stone must be extraordinary. This stone was 1,300 kilograms of crystals. Tuoba Tianfeng quickly handed over the crystals and waited at the side with the stone. He sneered, "Kid, it's your turn. Don't tell me you don't have money and can't afford the stones here." Lin Xian had been squinting because he was also looking at the stones. He realized that although Tuoba Tianfeng was arrogant, he was indeed powerful. The stones that he had chosen contained treasures. According to Lin Xian's speculation, they were at least exotic crystals. Moreover, there were a lot of them. But so what? He had the heavenly secret divine eyes. He didn't think that he would lose. In the next moment, he walked forward and his eyes flickered with strange runes. Like a celestial emperor, he scanned the stones. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As more and more runes appeared in Lin Xian's eyes, the surrounding air became oppressive. The powerful Seeker Spirit Masters also frowned and felt suffocated. Chapter 1924. What kind of eye technique is that? It's so magical. I feel like my eye technique is being suppressed. Heavens, this kid is definitely not simple. Who is he? What's his background? At this moment, those powerful seeker spirit masters also put away their contemptuous expressions. They realized that Lin Xian was indeed very strong. He could definitely fight against Taba Tianfeng. Even the stall owner looked at Lin Xian in surprise. However, Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly now. He had improved greatly compared to before. Therefore, he could hide the golden light of the heavenly secret divine eye. No matter how the mighty figure probed, he couldn't see through it. He would never have thought that it was the heavenly secret divine eye. On the other side, Taba Tianfeng's face darkened. He naturally felt a pressure from his soul. The other party's eye technique made him feel extremely threatened. Inside his sleeves, he clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. To be honest, he was extremely nervous. Because this stop was related to his reputation. If he lost, he would have to bark like a dog. That would be worse than death. However, although the other party's eye technique was powerful, he still believed that the other party couldn't beat him. One had to know that the spirit-seeking technique wasn't just an eye technique. There were other spirit-seeking techniques. He came from the Taba family and was the third genius. His spirit-seeking technique was definitely extremely powerful. It was definitely not something that the other party could compare to. Thinking of this, he sneered again. On the other side, Lin Xian used his eye technique to look at the strange stones. The more he probed, the heavier his heart became. Because through the heavenly secret divine eye, he could clearly see the situation inside the stones. He could tell at a glance whether an ordinary stone contained crystals and how many kilograms it contained. But now, he realized that he couldn't see clearly. There were layers of black mist inside the stones, like demonic chi that didn't dissipate. He had never encountered such a situation among the stones before. Are these the stones from the edge of the primordium ancient mine? They're indeed very evil. Lin Xian's heart was solemn. These were only the stones at the edge. He really didn't know what kind of existence was buried in the primordium ancient mine. This time, he didn't dare to be careless. His bet with Taba Tianfeng was still a small matter. He was more concerned about what was inside these stones. After all, his objective this time was to search for divine crystals. Divine crystals were extremely rare, so it was impossible for ordinary stones to contain them. There was an extremely high possibility that the rocks that came from the edge of primordium ancient mine contained divine crystals. Therefore, Lin Xian had to be careful. You still haven't made your choice after such a long time? How dare he call himself a genius? I think he's more like an idiot. At this moment, Taba Tianfeng coldly snorted. F***ck, arrogant my ass. The Crimson Dragon stood up and said coldly, cutting the stone is a gamble. Cutting the stone will determine the quality of the treasure. It's not a competition of speed. You're so fast. Did you do it 7 times a night with 5 seconds each time? Puff! Hearing this, many warriors laughed, because they naturally knew what this meant. Hearing that, Tuoba Tianfeng's face turned terrifyingly dark. His lungs were about to explode from anger. This Longma in front of him was simply too despicable. He wanted nothing more than to kill the other party and cut him into 8 pieces to vent the hatred in his heart. Lin Xian didn't say anything. He had already eliminated 15 stones and continued to search among the remaining stones. Soon his eyes lit up. Because he had found a stone. The stone was a faint yellow, and its shape was irregular. He couldn't tell what it looked like. There were 3 cracks on it, and they were about a third of the way through. However, Lin Xian didn't care about that. What he really cared about was the thing inside the stone. With the Tianji God eye, he could see that there was a ball of golden flames burning fiercely inside the stone. However, there was a lump of black mist surrounding the golden yellow flames. Therefore, he couldn't see anything unusual from the outside. This was also why he couldn't detect the 3 cracks even though they were a third of the way through. I've made my choice. I want this stone. Lin Xian said as he pointed at the stone with 3 cracks. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. The Almighty at the stall also said in a deep voice, You have to think carefully. Are you sure you want this stone? That's right. I've made my choice. This is the stone. As soon as he said that, the surrounding people were in an uproar. Tuoba Tianfeng was the first to laugh. His words were full of disdain and mockery. Kid, I thought you had some strength, but now it seems that you're really an idiot. You want this kind of stone that has been cut? What an idiot! He sneered, and his eyes were full of disdain. It seemed that he was going to win this time. The surrounding people were also discussing spiritedly. Someone said, That's right. There are 3 cracks on that stone. And judging from the way it was cut, it should have been done by an extremely powerful seeker. What? Those are cracks? That's how it came about. Some of the martial artists didn't know and were shocked when they heard those words. Little brother, I think you should change to another stone. These stones have been cut by powerful seeker. But in the end, they all gave up. These are stones from the Primordium ancient mine. They're very strange. This stone is obviously useless. So, you'd better change to another one. Yeah, you definitely won't be able to cut anything from this one. However, Lin Xian's expression was firm. He said indifferently, There's no need to change. I'm confident in this one. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. You're still confident? How ignorant are you? At this moment, Tuoba Tianfeng sneered again. Do you know the origin of this stone? Do you know the origin of those 3 cracks? Those 3 cracks were made by an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. One of them was cut out by an elder of our Tuoba family. However, our elder cut a third of it and found that there was nothing inside. That's why he gave up. Could it be that you think your vision is better than the elders of our family? Better than 3 extremely powerful seeker spirit masters? Tuoba Tianfeng's words were full of disdain. Lin Xian glanced at him and sneered. Is that so? Your elder cut one of them? Looks like your elders are really blind. They wasted such a good treasure for nothing. You're courting death. Tuoba Tianfeng was furious. Damn brat, you're so arrogant. You'll cry when the stone is cut out. You'll bark like a dog. Chapter 1925. With that, he waved his sleeves, and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. Lin Xian did not care about this threat at all. He looked at the stall owner and said in a deep voice, Senior, how much is this stone? The original price of this stone is 3,000 caddies of crystals, but there are already 3 cracks on it. Therefore, it won't be too expensive. It's only 500 caddies of crystals. You can buy it if you want. 500 caddies. Lin Xian nodded. This price was really cheap. He did not have any doubts and quickly handed over the 500 caddies of crystals. Then, with a wave of his hand, he took the stone with 3 cracks to his side. Sigh. He's too young. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Many of the older seeker spirit masters shook their heads and sighed. The other warriors also shook their heads. They felt that Lin Xian was too arrogant. In the crowd, the disciples of the Tuoba family sneered at this moment. How dare he come here to gamble with stones at this level? He really doesn't know what's good for him. What genius seeker spirit master! I think he was just lucky before. Kid, your good luck has come to an end this time. You want to compare yourself with my big brother Tuoba Tianfeng with this little strength? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If there's a treasure in this stone, I'll eat the entire stone. Are you sure you want to eat a stone? The Crimson Dragon stepped forward and looked at the other party coldly. Kid, it's you. I see you. When there's a treasure in this stone, I'll definitely throw all the remaining useless stones into your mouth. Feeling the Crimson Dragon's cold gaze, the Tuoba family disciple felt his scalp go numb. Because the murderous intent in the other party's gaze was too terrifying. He could not bear it. Therefore, in the next moment, his body trembled, and he almost knelt on the ground. However, Tuoba Tianfeng sneered and stood up to block the gaze. Then he said, "Kid, it's useless to say anything more. Let's cut the stone." With that, he waved his hand, and the dust and gravel on the ground flew into the air, creating a vacuum. Then, he carefully put away the stone in his hand, took out a small knife that shone with a cold light, and quickly cut the stone. The saber light flickered like a cold wind. The terrifying saber light fell and peeled off the stone. When it was only a third of the way through, a bright light shone and rushed out through the cracks. Those multicolored lights were like crimson flames, and they even emitted a wave of heat. "There's light! There must be treasures inside!" Everyone cried out in surprise. They didn't expect that they would appear when they were only a third of the way through. It seemed that not only were there treasures inside, there were definitely a lot of them. "Ha ha ha, did you see that? This is our big brother Taba Tianfeng's strength." In front of our big brother Taba Tianfeng, no one dares to call themselves a genius. "Brat, you dare to compete with our big brother? You're dead meat." The people that Tuoba Tianfeng brought with him sneered, while the others in the surroundings began to discuss among themselves. Those powerful seeker spirit masters also kept nodding their heads. Indeed, judging from its appearance and luster, it was definitely a type of crystal, and there was a lot of it. At the very least, he could sell it for a few thousand caddies. This time, he would definitely make a killing. The corners of Tuoba Tianfeng's mouth curled up. Since he had cut out a type of crystal, his heart calmed down. Next, it was time to see how many crystals there were. He didn't stop, but continued to cut the stone. After one side was cut out, he cut to the other side. Buzz! Not long after, another ray of light shot out, but this time, it was different from the fiery red light from before. Instead, it was a blue light. Along with it, there was also a terrifying icy aura. In an instant, snowflakes fell from the sky. Not only that, the surrounding temperature continued to drop, and frost formed on the ground, spreading in all directions. It was as if this place was going to become a world of ice and snow. "It's so cold." Many people were shocked and circulated their spiritual energy to resist. However, what shocked them even more was the change in the crystal. The aura that was emitted before was like fire, and it was like a wave of fire that distorted the void. But now, it was so cold that everyone was frozen. This kind of completely opposite aura actually appeared in the same stone. It was really shocking. What was going on? Was there more than one type of crystal inside? Everyone was shocked, and the powerful seeker spirit masters also frowned. The almighty stall owner's eyes lit up, and two rays of divine red light shot out from his eyes as he stared ahead. Surprise, extremely surprise! Not to mention them, even Tuoba Tianfeng was extremely surprised. He knew that there was a type of crystal inside, but he didn't expect there to be two of them, and two of them were of completely opposite attributes. This was definitely an unexpected surprise. One piece of rare crystal was already a huge profit. Now that two of them had appeared, and they were both ice and fire type crystals, they could definitely be sold for a sky-high price. Sure enough, after the frost crystal stone appeared, someone immediately made a bid. 3,000 caddies of crystals. I'll buy the type of crystal now. You want to buy it for 3,000 caddies? What a joke! I'll pay 2,000 caddies. I'll pay 450 caddies. One bid after another sounded, but Tuoba Tianfeng didn't sell. Instead, he looked at Lin Xian with a cold smile. "Kid, how is it? Now you know my strength. Someone like you is nothing in front of me at all. I'd like to see what you have to compete with me." "You'll see." When Lin Xian saw the man take out a xenogenic crystal with ice and fire elements, he wasn't surprised. He had already checked this stone before, and this situation wasn't out of his expectations. No matter how strong the other party was, it was only a type of crystal, while the one in his hand had an 80% chance of containing a divine crystal. As long as it was a small piece of divine crystal, it would definitely be worth more than the other party. In the next moment, without hesitation, rays of sword light appeared on his fingertips, and Lin Xian began to cut his own stone. Although everyone saw this scene, they didn't pay too much attention to it. This was because countless powerful Seeker Spirit Masters had already said that the stone was a piece of trash, and it was impossible to cut out a treasure. Moreover, 3 powerful Seeker Spirit Masters had cut out 3 cracks, but in the end, they didn't do it. Clearly, this was a stone that everyone had given up on. Therefore, they didn't pay much attention to it, and instead looked at Toba Tianfeng. There, terrifying multicolored light surrounded it, and it was as red as fire. On the other side, it was as cold as ice. 2 completely opposite scenes covered the surrounding sky. Such a miraculous scene, they naturally had to worship and admire it. F***CK, what's with the arrogance? Isn't it just a type of crystal? It's not like we haven't cut it out before. The Crimson Dragon looked at the other party's arrogance and snorted. Then he turned his head and said, "Kid, are you confident?" Chapter 1926. Don't worry, I'm 100% sure. Lin Xian nodded, looking unusually calm. Beside him, old man Duga covered his face with his hands. Young master, where did you get your confidence from? That was an ice and fire dual attribute xenogenic crystal. It could be said to be extremely precious. Unless you cut out the divine crystal, there was probably nothing that could compete with it. Could it be that this kid in front of him wanted to cut out a divine crystal? He did not dare to imagine. However, when Lin Xian's finger landed on the stone, it cut through a third of the stone. A 4th crack appeared on the stone. However, there was no light at all. When the crowd saw this scene, they immediately shook their heads. See, I told you. There's definitely no treasure, but he didn't listen. This kid is hopeless. How dare he compare himself to Toba Tian? He's just asking to be humiliated. The people from the Toba family sneered. Kid, wait for me to bark like a dog. Lin Xian ignored them. Instead, mysterious runes appeared in his eyes again. This was because there was a layer of demonic black fog below. It was this fog that blocked the divine crystal inside. He did not know what this black fog was, but he instinctively felt that it was evil. Therefore, he did not dare to be careless. The dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and a terrifying aura was added to the sword chi. Then, Lin Xian's finger fell again, and the terrifying sword light continued to cut. Puff! Soon, the sword chi collided with the black demonic chi in the stone. Immediately, Lin Xian felt a resistance. He raised his eyebrows, very surprised. One had to know that the dragon sword soul was extremely powerful. Even a 6-star king could not withstand his sword. However, the black fog inside blocked it. It had to be said that it was very surprising. No wonder the 3 powerful Seeker Spirit Masters had given up. It seemed that they could not get rid of the black demonic chi inside. However, Lin Xian was different. He had the dragon sword soul in his body, so he snorted coldly. The dragon sword soul circulated again, and a terrifying attack power surged quickly. The light on the tip of his finger became stronger and stronger, as if it had turned into a peerless divine sword. Chi! Finally, under the fierce sword light, the black demonic chi inside was finally cut open, and even the sound of ice melting could be heard. However, the process was extremely slow. Beads of water even appeared on Lin Xian's forehead. Looking at this scene, Toba Tianfeng sneered in disdain. I say, you're really stupid. You're sweating from cutting an ordinary stone. What a waste! The surrounding disciples of the Toba family sneered. Someone like you dares to come out and embarrass yourself? Hurry up and scram! Do you have a kidney deficiency? You're sweating even when cutting a stone. You're really useless. Lin Xian only sneered in response to these words because he was now 100% sure that the stone in his hand definitely contained a divine crystal. He didn't need to refute at all. He only needed to cut out the divine crystal. At that time, everyone would know who was the one being slapped in the face. Thinking of this, the sword chi in his hand became sharp again. Hoo! The black demonic chi in the stone decreased until it was finally completely destroyed by Lin Xian's sword chi. Then, a golden light surged out from the crack. Boom! In the next moment, the golden light shot into the sky, creating an earth-shattering phenomenon. Everyone was shocked by this scene. At this moment, the surrounding warriors raised their heads and looked at Lin Xian. Heavens, there's light! No way, what did I just see? There's light in a piece of useless stone? Could there really be a treasure? The surrounding people were extremely shocked. At this moment, not only were the ordinary warriors stunned, but even the powerful Seeker Spirit Masters, the powerhouses of the stall, and Tuoba Tianfeng were stunned. There's really a treasure. This kid's luck is too good. You'll know once you try. This is definitely not luck, this is definitely strength. I actually misjudged him. Discussions were heard all around. As Lin Xian slashed again, even more golden light shot into the sky. The sky was originally filled with red flames and blue ice, but now it was suppressed and even dimmed. Not only that, the light swayed in the wind as if it was worshipping the golden light. It was like a subject meeting an emperor. This scene made everyone's jaws drop in disbelief. Tuoba Tianfeng's face was also full of shock. Damn it! How was this possible? How could he cut out a crystal? That was clearly a piece of useless stone. His eyes were wide open and his eyeballs were about to pop out. His expression was extremely ugly. Because he would rather die than believe that Lin Xian could cut out a crystal. One had to know that an elder of his family had seen that stone before and shook his head in the end, believing that there was no treasure in it. Not only their elder, but 2 other powerful Seeker Spirit Masters had also examined it. In the end, they gave up. The 3 powerful Seeker Spirit Masters unanimously believed that it was a piece of useless stone, but now, this useless stone was emitting such a dazzling light. In an instant, Tuoba Tianfeng was completely stunned. Whoosh! Lin Xian used his fingers like a sword and slashed again. More and more golden light covered the sky, illuminating the entire sky in a golden color. Not only that, the golden light rolled and turned into balls of golden flames that kept dancing and illuminating the surroundings. What a dense aura! What a terrifying scene! On the side, old Monster Dugu was also stunned. He originally thought that Su Chun was going to lose this time, but he did not expect such a shocking reversal. Regardless of what kind of crystal was inside, the light alone was enough to suppress the ice and fire's energenic crystal. Ha ha! The dark red divine dragon laughed maniacally and said proudly, "Who was the one who said that this was a useless rock? Who said that there was something wrong with our brains? Come out! See if this emperor doesn't break your faces." Speechless, completely speechless. No one dared to say anything because they were completely stunned. If they came out now, they would be courting death. Impossible! This is impossible! Damn it, I don't believe it! The disciples of the Tuoba family shook their heads crazily, their faces full of fear. This was completely different from what they had imagined. How could the other party cut out such a terrifying scene? Impossible? The Crimson Dragon sneered, then stood out and stared at the other party. Kid, it's you. I'll remember you. You were the one who said that if we cut out the crystal, you would eat the rest of the stone. Wait, don't leave later. I'll feed you the stone. No. The disciple sat on the ground with a thud. His face was lifeless and abnormally pale. There was a yellow liquid flowing out from under his legs, and it smelled very bad. This guy was so scared that he wet himself. Chapter 1927. At that moment, Tuoba Tianfeng turned around with an ugly expression on his face. He gritted his teeth and said stubbornly, "What's wrong with that? It's not just a good image. Do you know that there's something called ghost striking stone? There are some stones that can produce extremely terrifying scenes, shocking the heavens. But in the end, there's nothing. This is ghost striking stone. Kid, the stone in your hand is definitely ghost striking stone. You can't possibly cut out a real treasure." At the end, Tuoba Tianfeng was almost roaring because he would not allow himself to fail. However, the heavens seemed to be joking with him. Just as he finished roaring, the stone in Lin Xian's hand cracked open. A golden light shone from the huge crack. A golden crystal appeared in front of everyone. It was very bright, like a small sun. It was so bright that everyone could not open their eyes. There were balls of golden flames dancing on it, emitting a rich fragrance. With a light sniff of the fragrance, everyone could feel the spiritual energy in their bodies boiling. Tuoba Tianfeng opened his mouth wide as if he had seen a ghost. His face was extremely red because he had just said that the other party could not cut out anything. In the end, the other party had cut it out. This slap directly stunned him. The surrounding Seeker Spirit Masters were even more shocked, and the stall owner exclaimed, "Divine Crystal! Heavens, you actually cut out a divine crystal! What? A divine crystal?" Hearing that, everyone went crazy. Their eyes turned red as they looked forward. Originally, they thought that Lin Xian would at most cut out a foreign crystal. But the quality was better than Tuoba Tianfeng's. But now, it seemed that was not the case at all. This was not a foreign crystal at all, but a real divine crystal. That was a divine crystal, something that only appeared in legends. Ordinary people would not have it. Only the big shots of the top sects and sacred grounds would have such a thing. And there were very few of them. Usually, they would not see it. But now, a young man had cut out a divine crystal in front of them. Whoosh! At this moment, a wisp of green smoke appeared in the crowd. It turned into a ghostly figure and instantly charged towards Lin Xian. The figure transformed into a ghost face and pounced towards the golden divine crystal on the ground. Not good! Someone is going to attack! Seeing this scene, everyone felt their scalps go numb. They had never imagined that someone would dare to make a move at a time like this to plunder the divine crystals. Lin Xian's face also changed. With a cold snort, the great dragon sword soul within his body was about to erupt. This was a treasure that he had obtained with great difficulty. How could he allow others to snatch it away? However, before he could make a move, a cold snort suddenly came from the sky. It sounded like a clap of thunder. Then, a purple thunderbolt fell from the sky and turned into a shocking sword light, instantly piercing through the ground. With a loud boom, the terrifying purple lightning nailed the figure to the ground. Blood flowed, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. The figure struggled for a moment, and then stopped breathing. Everything happened too quickly. This time, it was already over before anyone could react. However, when they came back to their senses, they all looked at the ground in front of them. On the ground, there was an old man in a gray robe. His eyes were wide open as if he could not believe that he would be killed in one move. I know him. He's an elder of the Limitless sect. He's extremely powerful. I didn't expect him to be killed in one move. An almighty. It must be an almighty. Moreover, it was not an ordinary almighty. Everyone's scalps went numb. That bolt of purple lightning just now was too terrifying. It made all of them feel like they were about to be killed at any moment. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky. How dare you make a move in the dragon transformation lake? Kill without mercy! This voice was filled with thick murderous intent and majesty, causing everyone to tremble. However, this sound came quickly and left quickly. Soon, the dark clouds in the sky dispersed, and it became sunny again. The sun shone down, and only the corpse on the ground and the flowing blood showed that the scene just now was not a dream. However, the corpse and blood were cleaned up quickly, and the entire place returned to its original state. Everyone's attention was once again attracted by the golden divine crystal in Lin Xian's hand. The golden divine crystal was the size of a fist, and there were balls of golden flames jumping on it. Every time it jumped, it brought a powerful spiritual power. Looking at this scene, many people swallowed their saliva, and their eyes were filled with shock and envy. On the other hand, the Crimson Dragon stood out and looked around disdainfully. He sneered and said, Who said that we're idiots? Who said that we can't cut it out? I think you're the idiots. You're all blind. You don't want such a good divine crystal. You even said that it's useless. I'm dying of laughter. The Crimson Dragon sneered. He was really angry just now. These people dared to ridicule him before, so he naturally had to pay them back. The surrounding people were silent. The powerful seeker spirit masters also shook their heads and sighed. They were so regretful that their intestines turned green. Although they were a little unhappy with the Crimson Dragon's words, what the other party said was the truth. They actually let go of a divine crystal for nothing. They really wanted to die. Soon, the Crimson Dragon turned around and stared at Tuoba Tianfeng and the disciples of the Tuoba family. The corner of his mouth curled up. Tuoba Tianfeng? Third in the family? How arrogant! If you're so good, cut a divine crystal for me to see. Also, weren't you trash very arrogant before? Now you're arrogant. See if Ben Huang doesn't slap you to death. Tuoba Tianfeng's expression was extremely ugly. He couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. The disciples around him were all ashen, and their faces were filled with despair. Your Tuoba family is really trash. Didn't an elder cut a third of it? You're actually proud of him? In my opinion, he's the biggest idiot. If he cut a little deeper, there might be a divine crystal. But your elder is really too stupid. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. At the end, the Crimson Dragon looked up at the sky and laughed. Damn it, how dare you insult our elder Zhang? I'll fight you to the death. The disciples of the Tuoba family all stood out, their eyes ferocious. Hey, you still dare to jump out? Ben Huang was just about to find you. Didn't you say that if we cut a treasure you'd eat rocks? Come on, there's a lot of rocks on the ground. I'll feed you all one by one. Hearing this, the disciples who stood out were stunned. They had indeed said that. But before this, they didn't think that the other party would be able to cut a divine crystal. So now, they were in a dilemma. Chapter 1928. The Crimson Dragon was powerful, so it was easy for him to deal with these people. In an instant, he threw all the stones on the ground into the mouths of these people. Woo woo! These people struggled crazily, and they even wanted to die. The surrounding crowd was also discussing. They never thought that the Tuoba family would be defeated one day. The disciples of the Tuoba family were forced to eat stones, and their faces were ashen. They didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. They even had the urge to run away. However, Tuoba Tianfeng was still standing there. But his expression was still dazed. He struggled crazily in his heart, not daring to believe it. He was a prodigy, the third prodigy of the Tuoba family. He was powerful, and his spirit-seeking technique was even more terrifying. Even the older generation of spirit-seeking masters was no match for him. And today, he had cut out an extremely precious ice and fire dual attribute xenogeneic crystal. It could be said that he was proud of his success. Next, he was waiting to be respected by tens of thousands of people, and then humiliate the other party. However, he didn't expect this despicable kid in front of him to cut out a divine crystal. That was something even more precious than a special crystal. That was why he was originally standing high above the clouds. However, at this moment, he had fallen from the sky to hell. The ice and fire crystals in front of him were laughable and not worth mentioning at all. He couldn't accept this huge contrast. However, at this moment, Lin Xian said calmly, Tuoba Tianfeng, the third prodigy? Now it's time to fulfill your promise. What? Hearing Lin Xian's voice, Tuoba Tianfeng finally came back to his senses. However, when he thought of his promise, his expression turned ugly. He even wanted to turn around and run. You want to leave? The Crimson Dragon sneered and stopped him. Are you being shameless? You're not going to keep your promise? You're a prodigy of the Tuoba family. Are all Tuoba family members so untrustworthy? Behind him, Lin Xian opened his mouth and said, It's fine if you want to go back on your word. However, from today onwards, the members of the Tuoba family must bow to me and stay away from me. What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Tuoba Tianfeng roared madly. Don't even think about it. What kind of status did the Tuoba family have? It was a powerful family of spirit seekers in the eastern wilderness, respected by tens of thousands of people. However, at that moment, they had to bow to a brat and back off. That was a disgrace to the Toba family. Therefore, it was impossible for him to let such a thing happen. The Crimson Dragon sneered. If you don't want to do this, then hurry up and bark like a dog. How dare you humiliate our big brother Toba? At this moment, the disciples of the Toba family stood out again. However, the Crimson Dragon glared at him and asked, "What's wrong? Do you want to eat rocks again? Is it Ben Wong? Do you want me to feed you again?" Recalling the frightening scene from before, these disciples did not dare to stand out anymore, and all of them shrank back like turtles. The crowd quickly discussed among themselves as their gazes landed on Toba Tianfeng. Many of them had mocking expressions on their faces. After all, they had nothing to do with the Toba family. Now that they could see such a powerful family being humiliated, they were naturally happy to see it. What Toba family? Looks like that's all there is to them. They can't even fulfill their promise. What a joke! Yeah, they were said to be on par with the Ouyang family. Now, it seems like they're too far apart. Third genius? They're a disgrace to the family. Such a person should just bang his head against the wall and die. Hearing the discussions around him, Toba Tianfeng's face turned pale, and he gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. I, Toba Tianfeng, am not a person who goes back on his word. Go ahead and bark. As he said that, he barked. Hearing this voice, everyone's eyes widened and they were stunned. Lin Xian was also very surprised. This guy really dared to bark. Woof! Woof woof! After barking, Toba Tianfeng spat out a mouthful of blood, fell to the ground, and fainted. Damn, he really barked! This guy's brain must have been flooded with water. Sigh, this is unbelievable. I didn't expect to see such an exciting scene here. If this news gets out, it'll definitely shock the entire Stone Gambling Convention. The third genius of the Toba family barked like a dog. This news is too shocking. Voices of discussion rang out one after another. They were simply crazy. The Crimson Dragon sneered. Carry this dog and get out of here. The remaining disciples of the Toba family did not dare to make a scene. They quickly carried Toba Tianfeng and left the place dejectedly. The surrounding crowd was in a heated discussion. Among them, a few powerful warriors surrounded Lin Xian. They quickly said, "Young master, are you selling the divine crystal in your hand? I'm willing to pay a high price for it. What treasure do you want? I can exchange it with you. Cultivation techniques, weapons, defensive equipment, or other spiritual medicine? I'm willing to exchange it with you." Even the stall owner had offered a very attractive price. Many people had their eyes on the divine crystal. After all, such a heaven-defying item could only be found by chance. However, Lin Xian shook his head. He still had a use for it, so he would not exchange it or sell it. After politely rejecting these people, Lin Xian prepared to leave. However, the stall owner said, "Young master, if you want to sell it, you can come to the Dayan's sacred land. If there's a need, I'll go." Lin Xian nodded and left. After he left, the news spread like wildfire. Soon, the entire Stone Gambling Convention knew that someone had obtained a divine crystal. Moreover, the third genius of the Toba family had barked like a dog in public. These two pieces of news were like bombs that blew everyone's minds. The Toba family was a powerful family of seeker spiritualists. They were very famous in the eastern wilderness. Everyone naturally knew that Toba Tianfeng was the third genius. However, they did not expect him to bark like a dog in public after losing a bet. This was truly unbelievable. They were all guessing who could win against Toba Tianfeng. Could it be a genius of the Ouyang family? Or an elite of the Huangfu family? However, they were all surprised by the outcome. It was an unfamiliar and mysterious young man. They did not know his background. However, he had obtained a divine crystal and defeated Toba Tianfeng. Toba Tianfeng's loss was justified. Although he was powerful and had obtained a rare ice and fire crystal, it could not compare to a real divine crystal. Yes, a divine crystal had appeared. Moreover, it had appeared in the hands of a young man. This was really surprising. Who is that kid? How can he be so powerful? In an instant, everyone was trying to find out Lin Xian's identity. When the other experts of the Tuoba family heard this, they were so angry that they vomited blood. They were furious. They were too furious. The Tuoba family had always been high and mighty. When had they ever been humiliated like this? Therefore, many experts of the Tuoba family moved out to find Lin Xian. They wanted to avenge Tuoba Tianfeng. Chapter 1929. Meanwhile, Lin Xian continued to search for strange stones near the Dragon Transformation Gorge. Soon, he arrived at the Dragon Transformation Lake. The jade-green lake water was clear, and one couldn't see the bottom. It was extremely deep. The Dragon Transformation Lake was filled with immortal qi. It was like a jade crystal embedded in the ground. Not far from the lakeside there was a bamboo house. A few bamboos were planted next to the bamboo house, which was full of green jade and lush green. Wild flowers swayed on the ground, and there were a few stones. Could this be a stall too? Lin Xian walked over curiously. Suddenly, a few cold voices came from behind. Over there! It's that kid! Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, and old monster Dugu stopped and turned to look. Then they frowned. This was because the people who had come were none other than the Tuoba family. F***ck, they're still here. Why are they here so soon? The Crimson Dragon frowned. These people were really annoying. Old monster Dugu reminded him. Young master, you may have defeated Tuoba Tianfeng, but you must not be careless. The Tuoba family is famous in the eastern wilderness. They must have a strong background and strength. Lin Xian nodded. He naturally understood that as well. However, he had the heavenly secret divine eyes, so he was not afraid of the Tuoba family. Given some time, he could train the heavenly secret child prodigy to a higher level. He could even trample on any seeker family. While Lin Xian and the others were talking, the Tuoba family members caught up with them. They stared at Lin Xian fiercely, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Kid, you're the one who cut out the divine crystal? You're the one who dared to provoke the Tuoba family? You must be tired of living. Kneel down and apologize to the Tuoba family in front of everyone, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, you'll suffer a terrible fate. Spare my life? Lin Xian sneered. You think too highly of yourself. Also, the competition was very fair. Each person chose a stone to gamble on. This is what everyone saw. It's just that your Tuoba family's people aren't good enough and made such an agreement. You can't blame me for making a fool of yourself. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame Tuoba Tianfeng for being too arrogant. He wanted to harm others, but he ended up harming himself instead. You're courting death. Hearing this, the experts of the Tuoba family were furious. They naturally understood this logic, but they couldn't take it lying down. Because they were still the laughingstock of everyone's conversations, they had to do something to prove themselves. Therefore, they targeted Lin Xian. As long as he defeated the other party, he would be able to get back at them for the humiliation he had suffered. Kid, Tuoba Tianfeng wasn't in his best condition earlier, so he lost to you. Do you dare to compete with me again? A middle-aged man shouted coldly. Light flickered in his eyes as purple runes formed a diamond-shaped pattern. Not interested. Lin Xian shook his head. His time was precious, and he would not casually exchange blows with any Tom, Dick, or Harry. The Crimson Dragon sneered as well. You want to compete with us? Fine, cut out a piece of divine crystal in front of everyone first. Otherwise, no matter how powerful you are, you will lose to us if you can't cut out a divine crystal. You! The Tuoba family was so angry that they vomited blood. Was a divine crystal that easy to cut out? They had never been able to cut it out in their entire lives. Not to mention them, even the elders of their family didn't have enough people to cut it out. Humph, what divine crystal? You were just lucky to cut it out. I don't believe that you can cut out a second piece. The Toba family roared angrily. They didn't believe that Lin Xian could cut out a divine crystal with his own strength. In their opinion, Lin Xian was just lucky to have come across it. Just as they were arguing, a maid in a blue dress suddenly appeared in the bamboo house in front of them. She quickly came forward and said coldly, "Who are you? Don't make a ruckus here and disturb my Mississippi, your miss? Who is your miss? How dare you meddle in the affairs of the Toba family?" The Toba family members were extremely arrogant. The Toba family members were already unhappy. Now that someone had come out to discipline them, they were about to go crazy. Therefore, they sneered and didn't take the other party seriously. "You!" The maid was so angry that her face turned pale. She said angrily, "The Toba family is too arrogant. Do you know who my miss is? Do you know where you are? I don't care who your miss is. Could it be that she's a fairy? If you know what's good for you, get out of here. Don't meddle in the affairs here. Otherwise, we'll deal with you too," the Toba family members said viciously. She was just a little maid. They didn't take her seriously. Buzz! However, at that moment, the sound of a zither came from the house. It was like a high mountain and flowing water that streaked across the void. When the sound was heard, the void vibrated and stimulated the souls of those who heard it. Suddenly, the mysterious sound waves swept toward the Toba family. When they heard the sound of the zither, the Toba family members' expressions changed. That was because they could sense that the sound contained a powerful soul power and a biting cold murderous intent. In the next moment, they didn't dare to be careless and put up their defenses. However, they couldn't stop it at all. Pft! 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 More than a dozen Toba family members vomited blood. Their bodies couldn't stop trembling. The sound of the zither had injured their souls. Lin Xian frowned at the side. The Crimson Dragon's expression was grave because the sound of the zither was too terrifying. Old Monster Dugger's expression changed drastically. He tried his best to resist the sound of the zither. However, the sound of the zither was too profound. He couldn't resist it. Fortunately, Lin Xian put up a defense at the critical moment and blocked the sound of the zither. "Thank you, young master!" Old Monster Dugger hurriedly thanked him. If it wasn't for Lin Xian, he might have suffered the same fate as the Toba family members. His soul would have been injured and he would have vomited blood. As for the Toba family members, they were both shocked and furious. First of all, the other party's methods were too terrifying. The sound of the zither had injured more than a dozen of them. That kind of method was heaven-defying. Moreover, the other party had dared to attack the Toba family. That meant that the other party had nothing to fear. Who was that person? How could he have such a method? One of the middle-aged men gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it, how dare you attack us here? Don't you know the rules of the Dragon Transformation Lake?" They were furious. Even though they couldn't defeat the other party, they wanted to use the rules of the lake to suppress the other party. One had to know that the Dragon Transformation Lake was jointly managed by the 5 great sacred lands. No matter how powerful a person was, they wouldn't have a good ending if they dared to break the rules here. However, the young maidservant sneered and said, "Attack? When did I attack you? My family's young miss only played a song." "You!" The Toba family members were so angry that they vomited blood. Indeed, after that, the pleasant sound of the zither came from the bamboo house again. It was like a dancing fairy that was intoxicating. They were furious. The other party had attacked them, but they couldn't find any weakness. What was even more detestable was that they were the only ones who were injured. The detestable kid in front of them was unharmed. That made them even more incredulous. Chapter 1930. Damn it! Are you guys in cahoots? The sound of the zither was so powerful that they couldn't even withstand it. Naturally, they didn't believe that Lin Xian and the other two could withstand it. Therefore, they subconsciously thought that Lin Xian was in cahoots with the people in the bamboo house. "Good lad! How dare you team up with others to hurt us? Just you wait. The Toba family won't let this go. These people decided to go back and ask the elders to come over. They had to teach Lin Xian a lesson. However, a few elders passed by and sneered when they saw this scene. The Tuoba family is too arrogant. How dare they behave so atrociously here? Don't worry about them. It's good to let them suffer a little. Hearing the elders say this, the Tuoba family felt that something was wrong. Could it be that this was some kind of terrifying dragon's lair or tiger's den? Therefore, they asked, "What's going on here? Is there anything strange?" They really don't know what's good for them. They don't even know where this is. How dare they behave so arrogantly here? An elder sneered. "Since I know the elders of your family, I'll remind you. This is the territory of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. You'd better behave yourselves here. Otherwise, no one can save you." "What? This is the shop of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground." The Tuoba family was completely stunned. Although the Tuoba family was powerful, they couldn't be compared to a top sacred ground like the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Moreover, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground was one of the 5 sacred grounds that hosted the Stone Gambling Conference. It could be said that they were the organizers. How dare they behave atrociously here? They were courting death. Thinking of this, cold sweat trickled down their faces. More than that. Do you know who's in the bamboo house? She's not an ordinary person. I heard that she's the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. How dare you behave atrociously in front of her? Hurry up and kowtow to apologize. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground. This time, the Tuoba family was really flustered. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground was the top genius of the younger generation, and the future master of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. How dare they behave so arrogantly in front of her? Thinking of their previous actions, they wanted to slap themselves. In the next moment, they hurriedly bowed and said respectfully, "We didn't know that the sacred ground was here. Please forgive us for our sins. Let's leave now." After saying that, these people no longer dared to pay attention to Lin Xian and the others, and quickly left with their tails between their legs. Because they didn't dare to stay here any longer. Old Monster Dugu was also extremely shocked. He whispered, "Young master, let's go. This is not a place we can come to." Although this old Monster Dugu was also incomparably powerful and had few opponents under the almighty level, in front of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, he did not dare to be arrogant at all. However, Lin Xian acted as if he didn't hear what he said. His gaze was fixed on the bamboo house in front of him. To be honest, when he heard that it was the Jade Lake Saint, he was very excited. Because the Jade Lake Saintess was Murong Qingqing. Originally, he wanted to wait until the matter of the All Beginnings Holy Land was settled before looking for the other party. Who would have thought that the other party would actually show up now? It had been a long time since he last saw Qingqing. Now that he knew that she was here, how could he not be excited? Lovesickness quickly flowed through his body. On the side, the Crimson Dragon also grinned. "It's actually that girl. I didn't expect her strength to reach such a level." Previously, when Murong Qingqing had parted with them, she had just become a king. But now, a zither sound was able to injure more than a dozen powerful 6-star kings. This kind of strength could be said to be heaven-defying. When old Monster Dugu saw that Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's expressions did not change, he immediately became afraid. These 2 young masters couldn't be thinking of doing something to the Jade Lake Saintess, right? Thinking of this, he broke out in cold sweat. "Young master, it's best not to act blindly without thinking. This Jade Lake Sacred Ground is different from the Tuoba family. Don't worry, old man. Nothing will happen," said the Crimson Dragon. Damn! They really dared to have ideas about the Saintess. Old Monster Dugu broke out in cold sweat. These 2 guys were too daring. How could he know that Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were not only daring, but they had also killed the Saintess of All Beginnings not long ago? Of course, it was impossible for old Monster Dugu to know this news. Moreover, it was different this time. The Saintess inside was very likely to be Murong Qingqing. She was Lin Xian's woman. Therefore, there would not be any danger. In front of them, the melodious sound of a zither was very pleasing to the ear. It seemed to pull one's soul into a fairyland. Just from the sound of the zither, one could tell how powerful the cultivation of the person inside was. However, the little maidservant in front of him frowned. "Why are you still not leaving?" To be honest, she was also very puzzled. The previous zither sound had injured more than a dozen experts of the Toba family in an instant. However, the three people in front of her were not injured at all. She knew the strength of her young master, but the three people in front of her were actually able to resist her, which really surprised her. Now, the three of them were actually still here, which made her even more vigilant. Could it be that these three people are planning something? Behind them, the few elders who were strolling around said, "Young man, I advise you to leave quickly. This is not a place for you to stay." Yes, even if the genius disciples of the sacred lands wanted to see her, they would be turned away at the door, let alone you. Unless the real saints and saintesses come, they might have a chance to enter. After hearing this, Lin Xian smiled faintly. "Seniors, don't worry. I won't do anything rash. I'm just standing here and listening to the zither sound. Can't I? Can you understand it?" The little maid curled her lips. Lin Xian smiled and said, A little, a little?" As he admired the sound of the zither, he looked around and then his gaze fell on a few stones in front of the bamboo house. Runes flashed in his eyes. Lin Xian looked forward and then revealed a look of surprise. These stones have an extraordinary origin. He realized that the black demonic aura in these stones was denser than that of the divine crystal. "You can understand this too?" the little maid asked. "What's there to not understand? We cut out a divine crystal before," the Crimson Dragon said smugly. "Cut out a divine crystal? So you're the mysterious Seeker Soul Master that's been rumored recently." Obviously, Lin Xian's reputation had spread throughout the entire stone gambling conference, so the beautiful little maid had naturally heard of him. "Yes, how is it? Now you know how powerful we are. Hurry up and invite us in for tea, will you?" the Crimson Dragon said quickly. "No way. It's impossible for you to see my young master. Not to mention you, even the Thousand Thunder Saint came yesterday and was sent back by me." "The Thousand Thunder Saint? Damn, what's that guy doing here?" Chapter 1931. The Crimson Dragon frowned and said, "Kid, someone is probably trying to steal your treasure." Lin Xian's face also darkened. "That guy also dared to come here. He's really courting death. I let him go last time. The next time I see him, I definitely won't let him go." On the side, old Monster Dugu's eyes almost popped out when he heard this. "What? Won't let the 10,000 Thunder Saint off? Heavens, little ancestor, do you know what you're talking about?" That was the 10,000 Thunder Saint. He was the pinnacle existence among the younger generation. Other than the saints of the other sacred lands, not many young people were his match. "Could it be that you want to attack the 10,000 Thunder Saint?" Old Monster Duga simply couldn't believe it. In fact, old Monster Duga didn't know that this was nothing. It wasn't like Lin Xian hadn't beaten the 10,000 Thunder Saint before, and he had beaten him like a dog. If it weren't for the Path Protector, the 10,000 Thunder Saint would have died long ago. Lin Xian didn't say anything else. Instead, he looked at the few stones in front of him again. This time, his expression was incomparably solemn, and mysterious Tao patterns appeared in his eyes. He used the God's Eye of Weather, emitting a mysterious aura. However, the more he looked, the more shocked he was. These stones all contained a magical power. Fortunately, he had the heavenly secret God's Eye. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to see it clearly at all. These stones are really not simple. Where did they come from? They actually contain a magical power. You can see it? The little maid at the side was even more surprised. No wonder you can cut out divine crystals. Actually, it's fine to tell you. These stones were obtained from the Primordium Ancient Mine. What? From the Primordium Ancient Mine? Hearing this, Lin Xian was moved. On the side, the Crimson Dragon and Old Monster Dugu were even more shocked. The Primordium Ancient Mine was a forbidden area for life, a forbidden area for humans. How did the other party get it? The Crimson Dragon was even more excited. As expected of the Jade Lake sacred ground, they were really generous to take out such stones. He had lived for thousands of years, so he naturally knew more. Some holy lands had some stones transported from the origin ancient mine, but very few people took them out. He hadn't expected that the Jade Lake sacred ground would take the initiative to offer it. As for the beautiful maid, she stared at Lin Xian and asked carefully, "What can you see? Is there anything inside?" She was also very curious. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. "I can't see it clearly for now. It's covered by a cloud of demonic qi." "Is that so? If even you can't see it clearly, I'm afraid very few people can. Unless it's one of those living fossils or a celestial spirit master." Lin Xian wasn't lying. He really couldn't see clearly. Of course, this was also the reason why he did not use his heavenly secret God eyes with his full strength. If he used his Tianji God eyes with all his might, he might be able to see what was inside. However, he didn't dare to use his full strength because once he used his full strength, he wouldn't be able to suppress the golden light. At that time, his eyes would emit a golden light, and those strange runes would definitely attract the attention of those who were interested. With a little deduction, Zhang Xian knew that his eyes were the heavenly fate god eyes. If this news was exposed, the 5 great sacred lands would probably be the first to attack him. Therefore, he wouldn't use his full strength. Of course, if he wanted to use it, he would have to isolate everything. On the side, the Crimson Dragon said again, "Little girl, we've talked so much that we're thirsty. Aren't you going to invite us in for a cup of tea? In your dreams. You want to go in for a cup of tea? No way," the little maid said angrily. "Unless you can cut out treasures from these stones, you should go back." Hearing this, old Monster Duga sighed. It was easier said than done to cut out treasures from these primordium ancient mine stones. He had heard of these stones before. They were very evil, and even powerful seeker spirit masters often failed to cut them. Very few people could cut out the real thing. Moreover, these stones were very expensive and could be said to be heaven-defying. Ordinary people couldn't afford them at all. Lin Xian wouldn't cut the stones now, but he still said calmly, "Let us in. Maybe I'm an old friend of your young miss?" "What old friend? Don't try to get acquainted with my young miss. My young miss doesn't have any old friends. That can't be. Isn't your young lady Muron?" The dark rainbow dragon laughed. "What? How do you know my young miss' name?" This time, the little maid was completely stunned. She was very confused and stared at Lin Xian and the other two with an unfriendly expression. "What are you doing? Hurry up and leave, or don't blame me for being rude." However, at this moment, a cold voice came from the bamboo house. "Schwaner, don't be rude, young miss." Hearing this, the little maid didn't say anything and stood to the side with her hands down. However, she still stared at Lin Xian and the other two with an unfriendly expression. In the bamboo house, the voice sounded again. "I wonder which old friend you're talking about. I really do have a few old friends." "Of course it's Tianwu's old friends," Lin Xian said. "What?" Hearing this, the person in the bamboo house cried out in surprise. Then, the pleasant sound of the zither came to an abrupt end. After a while, the voice sounded again. "I do have a few old friends. I wonder who you're talking about. Muron girl, how come you can't even recognize us?" the Crimson Dragon said. "Come out and take a look." In front of them, a figure walked out of the house. She was wearing a white floor-length dress with pink patterns embroidered on the wide hem. Her arm was wrapped in purple silk, about a zhang long, and her waist was slender, tied with a purple belt inlaid with jadeite. Her jet-black hair was tied up with a light purple ribbon. A few strands of hair fell mischievously on her shoulders, making her delicate skin look even fairer. She didn't have any makeup on her face, but she looked fresh and attractive. On the side, old Monster Duga was stunned. "Is this the Jade Lake Saint? She's really beautiful." A trace of excitement appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. It was indeed Murong Qingqing. It's been a long time since we last met. She's even more outstanding now. Yes, it was Murong Qingqing. Her eyes were like water as she glanced at Lin Xian and the other two. Then, she frowned slightly. She had never seen these three people before, but for some reason, the young man in front of her gave her a very familiar feeling. The flaming dragon horse beside him had a familiar ruffian aura. What's wrong, Qingqing? Don't you recognize me? Lin Xian said with a smile. He raised his hand and released the dragon-shaped sword aura. Seeing the dragon-shaped sword aura, Murong Qingqing trembled. She could clearly sense the power of the great dragon sword's soul in the sword aura. No one else could imitate this power. Only Lin Xian had it. Chapter 1932. In other words, the young man in front of her was Lin Xian. No wonder she found him so familiar. Why are you here? Murong Qingqing was so excited that her voice trembled. This scene stunned the little handmaiden and old monster Duge. They could not believe that Lin Xian knew Murong Qingqing. Moreover, they seemed to be very familiar with each other. I wanted to look for you later, but I didn't expect to meet you here in advance. Why? Aren't you going to invite me in? Lin Xian said with a smile. Come in quickly. Murong Qingqing was no longer as calm as she was at first. Old man, let's not go in. Let the two of them go in, the Crimson Dragon said from the side. As for the little maid, she was dumbfounded. She had never seen her young miss so excited before. Old monster Duge did not go in either. Instead, he stood at the side. However, his heart was in turmoil. He was very curious about the relationship between the two of them. Could it be that they knew each other before? However, he would never have guessed that the two of them were a couple. The interior of the room was very simple, but it had a different feel to it. There was a table with a guqin on it. It had an aura of vicissitudes. At first glance, one could tell that it had been passed down from ancient times. Brother Xian! Qingqing! Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing looked at each other. Love appeared in their eyes. Then, they hugged each other tightly. The little handmaiden outside the room secretly peeked into the room. However, when she saw the two of them hugging each other, she was completely stunned. Heavens, what's going on? She did not dare to imagine. Her mistress was the saint of the Jade Lake. She was a high and mighty existence. Moreover, her mistress might not even care about someone like the Saint of 10,000 Thunder. But now, a strange young man was able to win her mistress's favor. Moreover, the two of them were hugging each other. This was too unbelievable. The little handmaiden rubbed her eyes and realized that she was not dreaming. It really happened! In the next moment, she almost screamed. Fortunately, the Crimson Dragon sent her a voice transmission and briefly explained the situation. Only then did the little maid calm down. As Murong Qingqing's maidservant, she naturally knew some things about Murong Qingqing. She knew that Murong Qingqing came from a faraway island. She also had a sweetheart named Lin Xian. However, she did not expect that the young man before her was the legendary Lin Xian. Looking at his strength, he doesn't seem to be very outstanding. The little maid sized up Lin Xian. However, the spirit-seeking technique is still very powerful. To be able to cut out divine crystals at such a young age, I'm afraid that even those powerful families of spirit-seeking masters don't have many people with such talent. In this aspect, he's a good match for my lady. The little girl began to think about these things now. However, she did not know that Murong Qingqing had already pledged her life to Lin Xian. Inside the house, Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing hugged each other for a long time before the two of them slowly separated. Murong Qingqing said, Shuang or guard outside. If there are no special circumstances, don't let anyone in. Yes. The little maid Shuang nodded. Murong Qingqing waved her hand and a formation enveloped the bamboo house, isolating it from the outside world. Brother Xian, I miss you. Murong Qingqing raised her little face. Me too. Lin Xian smiled and gently stroked Murong Qingqing's hair. Then, the two of them briefly recounted their experiences. Murong Qingqing's life had been very smooth. After she entered the Jade Lake sacred ground, she was directly favored by the Queen Mother of the West because of her phoenix bloodline. She was even accepted as a closed-door disciple. Under the vigorous cultivation of the Jade Lake sacred ground, coupled with Murong Qingqing's talent and terrifying bloodline power, her cultivation's strength improved rapidly. Now, she had become the holy maiden of the Jade Lake sacred ground. However, when Murong Qingqing heard about Lin Xian, she was very nervous. She did not expect that Lin Xian would experience so many things after she separated from him. In fact, every single one of them made her extremely shocked. Especially when she heard that Lin Xian had joined forces with Lu Mingwei to kill the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings, she almost exclaimed. The Holy Maiden of All Beginnings was also a Holy Maiden. As a Holy Maiden, she knew how powerful a Holy Maiden could be. But even so, Lin Xian was still able to succeed. It really shocked her to the core. "Big Brother Xian, what do you plan to do next?" Murong Qingqing asked. Although Lin Xian was not in danger right now, if Lin Xian's identity was exposed, the All Beginnings Holy Land would definitely hunt him down. She naturally had to support Lu Mingwei. After all, she had been busy for so long. She could not leave empty-handed. As long as Lu Mingwei becomes the new Holy Maiden, there will be enormous benefits for her. Lin Xian said. "Perhaps I can help you enter the All Beginnings Holy Land," Murong Qingqing said at this time. "After this stone gambling assembly, our 5 great holy lands will hold a small gathering. The location of that gathering will not be at the Dragon Transformation Lake, but at the All Beginnings Holy Land. At that time, I will also be there. You can quickly enter the Holy Land with me. That is the safest method." "Okay." Lin Xian nodded. Since he already had a way to enter the Holy Land, he still had to make preparations. After all, if he was discovered, he had to have the Black Earth. Only then would he have the ability to protect himself. It was not that he did not trust Murong Qingqing. Rather, as the Holy Maiden of the Jade Lake, Murong Qingqing had certain restrictions. At the very least, she could not openly oppose the All Beginnings Holy Land. After all, this involved the relationship between the 2 holy lands. Murong Qingqing also understood this point. In the next moment, she lightly tapped her storage ring and took out a blue crystal. It looked like a star in the sky. "Big Brother Xian, this is a divine crystal. Since you have a use for it, I'll give it to you." Lin Xian received it with a smile. Then, he gently scratched Murong Qingqing's nose. "Girl, you have truly become a blessed daughter of heaven. You are so rich that you can casually take out a divine crystal. Hee, isn't everything mine yours?" Murong Qingqing said with a smile. Then, she gently placed her head on Lin Xian's shoulder. "Qingqing, just you wait. One day, I will personally go to the Jade Lake Holy Land to propose marriage." "And?" Murong Qingqing nodded. Her small face blushed. Her current status was not ordinary. Although she had already pledged her life to Lin Xian, she still needed the Holy Land's approval if she wanted to be together forever. However, she believed that with Lin Xian's talent and great dragon sword soul, as long as he was given enough time, no one on this continent would be a match for Lin Xian. "Right, I also have some news about Qiu'er. How is that little girl?" Lin Xian asked. Chapter 1933. "Oh yes, I have some news about Qiu'er. How is that little girl?" Lin Xian asked. Qiu'er was naturally Xinjingqiu, Lin Xian's woman. Moreover, Murong Qingqing had already accepted Xinjingqiu's existence completely. The 2 of them were even close, like sisters. Qiu'er is very special. She has already become the Zixia Saintess. Let me tell you, Qiu'er's bloodline is the born Taoism body. That's a very terrifying bloodline. When he heard this, Lin Xian was shocked. The born Taoism body, as well as the saint and divine bodies of the clan of the ancients, were all very terrifying. He did not expect Qiu'er to have such a heaven-defying body. Not to mention Qiu'er, even Murong Qingqing's body was frightening. It was the legendary Phoenix body. Lin Xian felt a wave of pressure. His 2 wives were too outstanding. Although he was very talented, he did not have a special body constitution or bloodline. However, he would not be discouraged. With the great dragon sword soul in his body, Lin Xian had absolute confidence that he would not lose to anyone. Even if it was a divine body or a saint body, he would not be afraid. Just as the 2 of them were talking in the house, a few figures walked in from outside. One of them was a very eye-catching young man. His long purple hair fluttered in the wind, and he had an indescribable evil aura about him. His eyes were also glowing with a deep purple light, like a purple gemstone. This young man was very confident. He was like a god of war as he walked in slowly. There was a purple patch on his thumb, and he was playing with it non-stop at the moment. The purple-haired young man walked quickly towards the bamboo house. "Stop right there. Who are you? This is the shop of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Outsiders should leave immediately." When the little maidservant saw the purple-haired young man walk over, she immediately stood out and said coldly. The purple-haired young man also stopped in his tracks. He was like a real immortal, and his body was surrounded by purple light. "I am the #1 genius of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Tianci. I have something to discuss with the Jade Lake Saintess," the purple-haired young man said. "What? Tuoba Tianci?" Hearing this, Old Man Dugu was extremely shocked. This was the #1 genius of the Tuoba family. He was much stronger than Tuoba Tianfeng. Who would have thought that he would actually come now? Humph! The Crimson Dragon snorted and looked at Tuoba Tianci unkindly. The little maid, Shuang'er, appeared to be very indifferent. After all, she followed Murong Qingqing and often saw either saintesses or holy sons. Therefore, she didn't really care about the #1 genius of the Tuoba family. Therefore, she said coldly, "Go back. My young miss is busy now and won't see you. Is something the matter?" Hearing this, Tuoba Tianci frowned. From the looks of it, he was not allowed to enter. His expression immediately turned ugly. As the #1 genius of the Tuoba family, he believed that he was not inferior to those saints and saintesses. Now, he hadn't even seen Murong Qingqing's face. How could he be willing to go back? Suddenly, he frowned and said coldly, "I really have something to discuss with the Jade Lake Saintess. Our young miss really doesn't have time to see you." The little maid snorted. Even the Thousand Thunder Saint was chased away by her. Not to mention Tuoba Tianci in front of her. "I'm here to apologize. Previously, a few warriors of the Tuoba family unintentionally offended the Saintess. This time, I'm here with sincerity. I hope you won't stop me," Tuoba Tianci said in a low voice. Although he was dissatisfied with the little maid in front of him, he still didn't want to do anything. After all, he knew the strength of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. However, the little maid, Shuang'er, shook her head and said, "Go back. Our young miss really won't see you." Humph! Tuoba Tianci snorted and his expression was unusually cold. A little maid dared to treat him like this. She really didn't know what was good for her. The next moment, he stepped forward and a purple light appeared around his body and circled around him. It was as if the purple deity had descended. At the same time, a huge force emerged and filled the sky. It seemed to form a purple mountain that was so oppressive that it was difficult to breathe. "You!" Feeling the surging force, the little maid, Shuang'er's face tightened. "How dare you fight here? Do you know where you are and who our young miss is?" The other party was too arrogant. Even the Myriad Thunder Sage didn't dare to fight here, but Tuoba Tianci dared to. He really didn't know what was good for him. "Damn, you dare to fight here? You're revolting!" The Crimson Dragon was also angry. His body swayed and the fiery red light on his body soared into the sky. A terrifying flame aura filled the air. At the same time, Old Monster Duga sighed, but he also made a move. His aura gushed out. This was not only the Jade Lake's territory, but also Lin Xian. Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing finally met. At this moment, the two must have a lot to talk about. How could they allow others to disturb them? Therefore, in the next moment, the crimson dragon stood out. His aura was like the sea, blocking the purple mountain in the sky. Old Monster Dugu was like a demon king. Thank you? The little girl, Schwanger, looked at the crimson dragon and old Monster Dugu gratefully. She now felt that compared to the disciples of the aristocratic families, Lin Xian and the other two were more adorable. A beast dares to block the way. You're courting death. Tuoba Tianxi looked at the crimson dragon in front of him and sneered. You're the beast. Your whole family are beasts. The crimson dragon was angry. He was a divine dragon. Now that he was called a beast, he naturally couldn't stand it. Suddenly, the fiery red flames on his body turned into a crimson dragon and rushed forward. Boom! The crimson fire dragon collided with the purple mountain, shaking heaven and earth. The terrifying scene attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Suddenly, a huge pressure appeared in the sky. That pressure belonged to a mighty figure. Who dares to fight in the dragon transformation lake? A terrifying aura came with a biting cold killing intent. It was about to turn into a purple divine sword and fall from the sky. Buzz! Tuoba Tianxi's face changed drastically. He didn't expect a mighty figure to come out so soon. The crimson dragon snorted. So what if a mighty figure came? He waved his flames and hit forward, forcing Tuoba Tianxi to retreat, and leaving a burn mark on his body. You're courting death! Tuoba Tianxi was furious. How dare the other party hurt him? He was going to attack. Humph! At this moment, the killing intent in the sky became even sharper. It was as if it had materialized. It was unbearable. Senior, please wait! Seeing this, Murong Qingqing's voice came from the bamboo house. Then, her body swayed and appeared in the void like a fairy. Senior, this is my friend. There's a misunderstanding, Murong Qingqing said to the void quickly. Chapter 1934. Since you're friends of the Jade Lake Saint, I'll let you go this time. But if there's a next time, I'll kill you! The cold voice disappeared in the sky. The purple divine sword also disappeared. The terrifying killing intent melted like snow. Seeing this, old Monster Dugu and Schwanger heaved a sigh of relief. The scene just now had scared them to death. They did not have the ability to resist the aura of such a powerful figure. On the other side, Tuoba Tianxi's face turned ugly. He did not expect that the other party would really dare to attack and attract the attention of a powerful figure. Fortunately, the Jade Lake Saint came out in the end. Otherwise, he would have been killed here. Thinking of this, he looked at the Crimson Dragon angrily. The Crimson Dragon snorted. So what if a powerful figure was attracted? He was not an ordinary person. When the powerful figure attacked, he would have a way to escape. Therefore, he was not afraid. The next moment, the Crimson Dragon stared at Tuoba Tianxi and said coldly, Boy, get out of here. Otherwise, Ben Wan will attack again. Lunatic. Hearing this, Tuoba Tianxi's face turned ugly. If a powerful figure was attracted again, even the Jade Lake Saint would not be able to resist. However, he did not care about the Crimson Dragon because Murong Qingqing had come out. The next moment, he looked at Murong Qingqing in the sky and smiled confidently. Jade Lake Saint, you're really beautiful. It's an honor to meet you today. Who are you? Murong Qingqing frowned. In a flash, she came to the front of the bamboo house. I'm Tuoba Tianxi, the #1 young master of the Tuoba family. He was also the #1 seeker spiritual master of the younger generation. Tuoba Tianxi was very confident. Although the Tuoba family was not as powerful as a sacred ground, he believed that with his talent and strength, he would not be weaker than the saints of those sacred grounds. This time, he came to solve the problem of the Tuoba family offending the Jade Lake sacred ground. Moreover, he also wanted to meet the Jade Lake Saint. He wanted to see if he could win her heart. After all, it was rumored that the Jade Lake Saintess was unparalleled in beauty. As a top heaven's favorite of the younger generation, Tuoba Tianxi naturally yearned for her. However, Tuoba Tianxi was soon stunned. The reason for that was because he discovered that a handsome man had walked out from behind Murong Qingqing. Moreover, the relationship between the two of them seemed to be very close. This scene made Tuo Bating extremely uncomfortable. As an extremely talented genius, he would not allow such a thing to happen. He was also pursuing Murong Qingqing, so he was mad when he saw Murong Qingqing with another man. In the next moment, he stared at the handsome young man, and a cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. This handsome young man was naturally Lin Xian. When he heard about the situation outside, he also came out. When he sensed the killing intent in Tuo Batianxi's eyes, he snorted coldly. He had yet to find trouble with the other party, and the other party actually dared to release killing intent towards him. He really didn't know what was good for him. "Kid, who are you?" Tuo Batianxi asked coldly. He didn't know Lin Xian, and he didn't seem to be a saint. However, how could such a person be together with Murong Qingqing and be on such good terms with her? "My surname is Long. You can call me Brother Long," Lin Xian said calmly. Since he was outside, he naturally had to use a smurf account. He didn't want anyone to know that he was Lin Xian. "Surname Long?" Hearing this, Tuo Batianxi frowned. This person actually dared to ask him to call him Brother Long. He really had a death wish. "What Brother Long? I've never heard of you. Which sect are you from? You haven't even heard of me?" Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, looking unusually calm. He said calmly, "Go back and ask Tuo Tianfeng who defeated him. I think you'll know my identity soon enough." "What? It's you!" Hearing this, Tuo Batianxi's face immediately darkened. How could he not know that Tuo Tianfeng had been defeated? What was worse was that Tuo Tianfeng had started barking like a dog, causing the Tuoba family to lose face and become a laughingstock. The person who had caused all of this was the young man in front of him. How could Tuo Batianxi not be angry? In the next moment, a cold murderous intent radiated from his eyes. It was so cold that it almost materialized. "Kid, how dare you provoke the Tuoba family? I have to say, you really don't know what's good for you. You'd better kneel down and apologize to the Tuoba family. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you'll suffer a terrible fate." "Humph." This time, before Lin Xian could speak, Murong Qingqing snorted coldly. She said coldly, "Tuo Batianxi, watch your attitude. Young Master Long is my friend." "Damn it." Seeing that even Murong Qingqing had spoken, Tuo Batianxi's face turned even uglier. His opponent was the Jade Lake Saint. He didn't dare to be impudent in front of her. However, he couldn't hold his anger in, and was about to go crazy. Therefore, he said, "Kid, do you dare to have a match with me? I'll let you know how powerful the Tuoba family's spirit-seeking technique is. Compete with you? I'm not interested." Lin Xian shook his head. He still had to spend more time with Murong Qingqing. He wasn't interested in fighting with others. "What if I use a divine crystal as a wager?" Tuo Batianxi refused to give up. He waved his hand and took out a black divine crystal. It was pitch black and emitted a mysterious power. "A divine crystal!" Old Monster Dugu, Schwanger, and the others exclaimed when they saw this. They didn't expect Tuo Batianxi to be so generous as to use a divine crystal as a wager. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He was just thinking about how to find a divine crystal when Tuo Batianxi came to him. Since this was the case, how could he not want it? Therefore, he nodded and said, "Since you're here to give me a divine crystal, I'll play with you." "Humph, if you want my divine crystal, let's see what you're capable of." Tuo Batianxi sneered. As long as Qin Haodong agreed to a match with him, the rest would be easy. He would let Qin Haodong know what the Tuoba family's spirit-seeking technique was. And the news of the competition between the two swept out like a gust of wind. Instantly, the entire Stone Gambling Conference knew about it. Countless people gathered at the Tuoba house. Soon, the area around the bamboo house was filled with people. "Oh my God, another Stone Gambling Conference! I heard that the wager this time is a divine crystal. This is too much. Yeah, even the older generation of spirit-seeking masters wouldn't dare to bet like this." Are the young people nowadays so crazy? Are you kidding me? How could an ordinary young person take out such a wager? Didn't you see that purple-haired man? He's Toba Tianzi. He's the #1 expert of the Toba family's younger generation. He's also the #1 spirit-seeking master of the younger generation. Chapter 1935. What? It's him? No wonder he's so generous. Obviously, everyone had heard of Toba Tianzi's reputation. However, they were soon puzzled. Who dared to make such a bet with Toba Tianzi? Could it be someone from the Ouyang clan or the Huangfu clan? Among the 3 seeker spiritual master clans, only the Ouyang clan and the Huangfu clan could contend with the Toba clan. Neither. Do you remember the mysterious young man who obtained the divine crystal? It's him. What? It's him. No wonder Toba Tianzi made a move. That guy made Toba Tianfeng bark like a dog in front of everyone. That's a deep grudge. That's right. Toba Tianzi must be here for revenge. After all, the Toba clan is not to be trifled with. Sounds of discussion could be heard. Obviously, they were not optimistic about Lin Xian's chances. Even though Lin Xian had obtained the divine crystal, many people thought that it was due to luck. Toba Tianzi's reputation was too great, far surpassing Toba Tianfeng's. Many people even said that Toba Tianzi was the most promising genius to become a celestial spiritual master in the past 1,000 years. More and more people gathered around. In the end, there were even almighties. This made the surrounding people even more excited. Not only were there almighties, but many people from the Ouyang and Huangfu clans were also there. Most of the Toba clan's people were there to cheer for Toba Tianzi. There were also talented martial artists and powerful seeker spiritual masters from the various sacred grounds who were there to watch the battle. Toba Tianzi was quite calm when he felt the gazes of the surrounding people. He looked coldly at Lin Xian and sneered. "Kid, it's not too late to kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. You talk too much. You'd better take care of my divine crystal. If you damage it, I won't let you off," Lin Xian said flatly. "Humph, you have a sharp tongue. I'll make you regret it," Toba Tianzi said coldly, his eyes full of disdain. He did not believe that his opponent could beat him in the art of spirit seeking. Lin Xian shrugged. "There's no point in talking anymore. Let's begin. Why don't we choose these stones from the origin ancient mine?" To be honest, these stones were very mysterious. Lin Xian's hands were itching to cut a piece and take a look. However, after Toba Tianzi heard that, he sneered disdainfully. "You really are an idiot! Do you know where these stones came from? These are stones from origin ancient mine. Every single one of them has a sky-high price. Can you afford it? Even if you can afford it, can you understand it? Could it be that you can see clearly whether there are treasures inside? Kid, stone gambling is a competition of spirit-seeking skills, not luck. What you're doing is really laughable. How do you know I can't see clearly?" Lin Xian snorted coldly. To be honest, he really wanted to use his heavenly secret divine eyes to see what was so special about the stones from origin ancient mine. Because based on his instincts, Lin Xian felt that there must be something good in these stones. "Why? Don't you dare to go? Or can't afford it?" Lin Xian asked in return. "Humph!" Toba Tianzi snorted coldly, not bothering to answer. Because in his opinion, Lin Xian was just bluffing. He did not believe that the other party would dare to cut these stones from origin ancient mine. One had to know that as the #1 spirit-seeking master of the younger generation, he did not dare to cut these stones easily. So, he sneered and shook his head. Ridiculous. At this moment, the 2 old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground also walked over. They looked at Lin Xian and Toba Tianzi and said in a deep voice, "Young masters, these stones from origin ancient mine are indeed a little strange. You can't cut them easily. How about this? We still have a batch of good stones in our hands. They were also obtained from a vein near origin ancient mine. Why don't you cut these stones, young masters? With that, the two old ladies waved their embroidered robes, and more than a dozen stones appeared on the lawn in front of them. Okay, thank you very much, senior. Lin Xian nodded with a smile. On the other side, Tuoba Tianxi's eyes lit up. Obviously, it seemed that he was also about to make a move. Why? Are you betting on stones? At this moment, a hearty laugh was heard. That voice was like thunder, resounding in the sky. Before everyone could turn around, they saw a figure appear in front of them. It was a handsome young man. He was tall and wore a thunder robe, as if he was the son of the thunder god. He was extraordinarily handsome. The Thousand Thunder Sage! Many people exclaimed when they saw this young man. They did not expect that the position of the Thousand Thunder Sage would also appear. The Thousand Thunder Sage looked at Murong Qingqing, then said with a smile, Fairy Murong, it's really not easy to meet you. Hello? Murong Qingqing was expressionless, but she still nodded slightly. Everyone was a saint and saintess, so the necessary etiquette was still necessary. The Thousand Thunder Sage looked at Murong Qingqing with a hint of admiration in his eyes. At this moment, Tuoba Tianxi also said loudly, Brother Thousand Thunder, you're here too. Brother Tianxi, you're so lucky to be able to show off your skills in front of Fairy Murong. The Thousand Thunder Sage said with a smile. It seemed that he had a good relationship with Tuoba Tianxi. Everyone was shocked because these two young men were the top of the younger generation. At this moment, the two of them stood side by side, looking down at the world with disdain. Even some of the older generation felt that they were not as good as them. Ouyang Mingfei of the Ouyang family. Huangfu Qian of the Huangfu family. They're all here. Many people exclaimed when they saw a handsome man walking in front of them. His robe was whiter than snow, and he looked extremely handsome. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were as deep as the starry sky, making people lose their sense of direction. This was Ouyang Mingfei, the genius of the Ouyang family. The other woman had a delicate appearance. She was holding a small green umbrella to block the sun. Her skin was abnormally white, and her eyes were as clear as crystal. She was Huangfu Qian, the little princess of the Huangfu family. The Tuoba family, Ouyang family, and Huangfu family were the three great seeker families in the eastern wilderness. At this moment, the top young geniuses of the three great families had appeared at the same time. It was really shocking. Not only that, but there were also a few saints and saintesses behind them. There was the Reverence Moon Saintess and the Thousand Tribulation Saintess. 5 Elements Saint. It could be said that many of the top young geniuses of the eastern wilderness had appeared here. The surrounding martial artists were really excited because they usually did not see so many geniuses. They did not even see a single one. But now, with so many people gathered together, it was really a grand occasion. Chapter 1936. Of course, there were two reasons for this. First, these people were here to see Murong Qingqing. After all, Murong Qingqing had just become the Jade Lake Saintess. The saints and saintesses of other sacred grounds naturally wanted to find out what was going on. Of course, there were also many young and handsome geniuses who came to express their love. Second, it was because of Tuoba Tianxi. Although the Tuoba family was not a sacred ground or a clan of the ancients, their soul-seeking skill was very magical and peculiar. In some aspects, even the martial artists of sacred grounds might not be able to compete with them. Therefore, when Tuoba Tianxi showed his skills, they naturally wanted to watch. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon stepped forward and said in a clear voice, "You've come at the right time. Everyone, you've come at the right time. You can all be witnesses, lest the other party reneges on his loss. Listen up, everyone. This man from the Tuoba family wants to bet with a divine gem. At that time, when he loses, the black divine crystal in his hand will be ours. Let me make this clear in advance." The Crimson Dragon's voice spread clearly in all directions. At this moment, a young man on Tuoba Tianxi's side sneered. "Our brother Tianxi is betting with a divine gem. Shouldn't you take out a corresponding bet?" Otherwise, wouldn't you be taking advantage of him? Whoosh! Hearing this, Lin Xian smiled slightly. He flipped his palm and took out a fist-sized divine gem that seemed to be burning with golden flames. A divine gem! Many people exclaimed when they saw the divine gem. They did not expect Lin Xian to take out a divine gem so easily. Heavens, who is this guy? How can he take out a divine gem so casually? Yes, and judging from his appearance, he seems to be on good terms with the Jade Lake Saintess. Where did this guy come from? For a moment, many young and handsome geniuses were hostile to Lin Xian. As expected, the Saint Son of Myriad Thunder spoke again. He also waved his hand and took out a divine gem that was shining with red light. Since it's a bet, I'll join in. I bet that Brother Tianxi will win. He looked at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, kid. Even if I win, I won't make you pay me another divine crystal. I only need you to leave the Jade Lake Saintess from now on. Don't appear by her side." Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. It seemed that the rumor that the 10,000 Thunder Saint's son was in love with the Jade Lake Saintess was true. Otherwise, the 10,000 Thunder Saint's son would not take such a great risk and use the precious divine shock as a bet. After Murong Chichin heard it, her face sank as well. She was just about to retort when Lin Xian shook his head. He then smiled and said, "Sure. However, if I win, that red divine crystal will be mine." He was too happy. 2 divine crystals had appeared all of a sudden. As long as he won, he would have 4 divine crystals in his hands. 4 deity crystals were more than enough to activate the Black Earth. Moreover, he did not plan to use the Black Earth to do anything earth-shattering. He only needed to let the Black Earth defend. 4 deity crystals are enough. Humph! The 10,000 Thunder Saint's son snorted. Next to him, Toba Tianxi also said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, Brother 10,000 Thunder. Trust me. That kid was just lucky. He's no match for me." "Of course I believe you." The 10,000 Thunder Saint's son nodded and said, "The title of the #1 Seeker Spiritual Master in the Toba family is not just for show. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bet an extremely precious divine crystal." "How do you want to bet?" Lin Xian asked. "I won't bully you. Let's decide the winner in one battle." Toba Tianxi replied with a confident look on his face. "Okay." Lin Xian nodded and then whispered to Murong Qingqing, "Wait and see. I'll defeat them all." A smile appeared on Murong Qingqing's delicate face. "I believe you." Her smile made the world lose its color. Everyone was dumbfounded. Many martial artists were even drooling because it was too beautiful. However, what shocked them even more was that the relationship between Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing was beyond ordinary friends. Could it be that there was a special relationship between the two of them? At this moment, many young talents felt their hearts ache. The 10,000 Thunder Saint Sun's face darkened. He had been to the Dragon Transforming Lake a couple of times already. Except for today, he had never seen Murong Qingqing's face. But now, a young boy with an unknown background had won Murong Qingqing's favor. It really made him angry. Toba Tianxi's face also turned ugly. But then, a cold smile appeared on his face. He snorted in his heart. "Kid, you can be proud for a while. When I get the divine crystal, everyone will know who the real genius is. I think Murong Qingqing will also look at me with new eyes. And you will be trampled under my feet forever." At this moment, a purple light surged out of Toba Tianxi's body, forming a mysterious aura that enveloped him. Not only that, but the purple light in his eyes shone and turned into a solid light that pierced through the void. It gave people a very oppressive feeling. The whole air became condensed, and everyone seemed to be unable to breathe. In the next moment, he took a step forward. The whole ground trembled slightly, and the dozens of strange stones in front of him also trembled. This scene shocked everyone. In the crowd, Ouyang Ningfei, who was dressed in white, and Huang Fuqian, who had an ethereal temperament, also looked solemn. They knew that Toba Tianxi was about to make a move. They were very dissatisfied with Toba Tianxi's arrogance. However, they also knew that Tuoba Tianxi was really talented and a very powerful seeker. He would not lose to any of them. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. This Tuoba Tianxi was indeed something. When he took a step just now, more than 10 purple lights appeared under his feet. It was like an invisible hand that grabbed the dozens of stones. This caused the stones to tremble with his footsteps. Lin Xian did not know this kind of spirit-seeking technique. However, he wasn't too worried because he had the heavenly secret divine eyes, a legendary pair of eyes. It was the legendary heavenly secret divine eyes that could see through everything in the world. So what if Tuoba Tianxi's eye technique was strong? It could not be compared to his heavenly secret divine eyes. On the opposite side, Tuoba Tianxi's aura became even more terrifying. It was like a peerless ferocious beast that was quickly recovering. Within his purple eyes there was even a purple flame with a mysterious aura. Buzz! The void trembled. The purple eyes turned into a purple divine red that was dozens of feet long, and covered the dozens of stones in front of him. Those stones seemed to be dragged by a pair of purple hands. They slowly rose into the air, and then kept spinning. Beside each stone, there were countless purple lights that formed strange runes that kept flashing. Chapter 1937. What a terrifying spirit-seeking technique! What a terrifying pupil technique! At this moment, everyone was shocked. They more or less knew about this spirit-seeking technique. Moreover, those powerful spirit-seeking masters looked solemn and even felt ashamed of their inferiority. Buzz! After a while, the void trembled. Then, more than a dozen stones fell to the ground without any damage. In the sky, there was another stone floating there. The stone was not big, only the size of a basketball. There were 3 round holes on it, each of which was the size of a walnut. They were distributed on the stone, which was very strange. This was the 3-orifice magical stone. Yang Mingfei frowned, and his handsome face was full of seriousness. On the side, Huang Fuqian also opened her red lips and said, Tuoba Tianxi is really crazy. He dares to choose this 3-orifice magical stone. What's wrong with this stone? Is there something wrong with it? The other martial artists looked at each other, not knowing the reason. At this moment, an older spirit-seeking master said in a deep voice, This kind of 3-orifice magical stone is very strange. Legend has it that there's either a peerless treasure or nothing inside. It can be said to be 2 extremes. What? It turned out to be like this. If there's no peerless treasure, there'll be nothing? This was really shocking. It seemed that Tuoba Tianxi was determined to choose a peerless treasure. The Holy Sun was also a little worried. Brother Tianxi, are you confident? Trust me, Brother Wanlei. My spirit-seeking technique has broken through again not long ago, so I'm full of confidence. Well, I'll bet with you. The Saint Son of 10,000 Thunders said with a smile. The other holy sons, holy daughters, mighty figures, and the surrounding martial artists were also shocked. This was really an exciting gamble. This guy is really crazy. Be careful. Even Murong Qingqing looked solemn. Obviously, she also knew how terrifying this 3-orifice magical stone was. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded and gave Murong Qingqing a calm look. This time, the old lady from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground stood up and asked in a deep voice, Young master, have you decided to choose this 3-orifice magical stone? That's right, Tuoba Tianxi said. The old woman from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground said again, This 3-orifice strange stone is 4,000 kilograms of crystals. What? 8,000 caddies of crystals? So expensive! Hearing this, everyone was extremely shocked. This is really a sky-high price. 8,000 genes of crystal stones, that was a huge sum. Even a king would be able to cultivate for a long time. But now, it was only the price of a piece of stone, and this stone might not even contain any treasures. Sure enough, stone gambling was exciting. Lin Xian was also very surprised. This price was indeed too expensive. In the next moment, he looked at Tuoba Tianxi. Tuoba Tianxi's expression was grave. Clearly, the price was out of his expectations. But this time, he had already boasted. It was impossible to turn back now. Moreover, he was very confident in his soul-seeking technique. In the next moment, he took out a storage ring and tossed it to the old lady of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. There are 4,000 kilograms of crystal stones in here. I hope Senior can take a look. The old lady of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground took the storage ring and probed it with her soul power. Soon, she nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. Now, this three-orifice strange stone is yours. As she spoke, she waved her hand and the three-orifice strange stone came to Tuoba Tianxi's feet. The surrounding people were shocked. They did not expect Tuoba Tianxi to really spend 4,000 kilograms of crystal stones to buy a piece of stone. This was too crazy. If nothing was cut out, it would be a huge loss. That's 4,000 kilograms. I can't earn that much in my lifetime. No wonder he's the #1 genius of the Tuoba family. He's really rich. F***ck, comparisons are odious. What do you know? Tuoba Tianxi must have his reasons for daring to do this. Think about it. If a peerless treasure is cut out, wouldn't he be rich? So think about it. 4,000 kilograms is not too much. Not too much? The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. This price was not much for top geniuses like the saints, saintesses, and Tuoba Tianxi. But for ordinary kings like them, this was definitely a shocking price. It was a price that they could not even imagine. Tuoba Tianxi waved his hand and held the three-orifice strange stone in his hand. Then, he smiled and looked at Lin Xian. Kid, it's your turn. I'm curious. Can you afford one of these stones with the money you have? You don't have to worry about it, Lin Xian said indifferently. Then, he took a step forward and slowly came to the dozens of stones. Buzz! In the next moment, countless golden auras were released from his body. He was like a Buddha that rolled over. It formed a golden cloud that completely covered him, together with the dozens of stones. What's going on? What is this kid trying to do? Is he trying to snatch the stones? Oh my God, is he using the spirit-seeking technique? Why haven't we seen this before? Numerous voices of bewilderment sounded. Obviously, they couldn't understand Lin Xian's actions at all. The two old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground were also confused. Then, they looked at Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing nodded and gave them a reassuring look. She trusted Lin Xian unconditionally. The two old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground didn't stop their saintess when they saw her like this. However, they were still vigilant in case Lin Xian suddenly ran away. Lin Xian was not running away. He used the golden aura to cover the stones so that he could fully display his heavenly secret divine eyes. After all, when the heavenly secret divine eyes were fully displayed, it would emit strange runes and golden light. He had to cover it up. Otherwise, it would be bad if he was discovered. When Tuoba Tianxi saw Lin Xian and the golden light around him, he sneered. What a trick! You think you can find the real strange stone by creating other scenes? What a ridiculous idea! Kid, I don't think you're a spirit-seeking master. You're just a piece of trash who got lucky. You'll eventually show your true form in front of me. Lin Xian did not reply. He was still fully displaying his heavenly secret divine eyes. The golden light shone and strange runes appeared in his eyes. This caused his eyes to turn completely golden, making him look extremely mystical and mysterious. Fortunately, he had already unleashed a golden sun-like radiance in advance, enveloping the surroundings. Otherwise, his eyes would definitely cause everyone to be shocked. Even so, he had underestimated the golden prodigy. Although he had concealed the golden light, the aura of the heavenly secret divine eyes was too shocking. Chapter 1938. Boom! 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 The void trembled and the air froze. It was as if there was a pair of mysterious eyes coldly watching the world. At this moment, everyone's soul trembled inexplicably as fear rose from the bottom of their hearts. Damn it, what's going on? Why do I feel like I'm drenched? It can't be related to this kid, right? F***ck, this is too strange. Is this kid using some kind of demonic technique? They were all terrified, not understanding what was going on. However, the powerful Seeker Spirit Masters were even more shocked. They all had eye techniques, but their eye techniques were suppressed. Some people's eyes even dimmed like flames that would be extinguished at any moment. What's going on? My eye technique is ineffective? Damn it, what did this kid do? At this moment, even the saints and saintesses had serious expressions. Ouyang Mingfei and Huangfu Qian had even more serious expressions. They also felt the pressure from their souls. Tuoba Tianxi's expression was ugly. He originally thought that the other party was just lucky and didn't have any strength. He was a piece of trash. But now, it seemed like that wasn't the case. The other party's aura made him feel uncomfortable. It seemed that Tuoba Tianfeng's defeat wasn't a coincidence, but because the other party was too strong. Damn it, who is this kid? How can he have such a terrifying eye technique? Tuoba Tianxi gritted his teeth and stared ahead. The two old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground were also surprised. They had never seen such a phenomenon before. They even thought of a legend. Could it be an Earth Spirit Master? Seeker Spirit Master was a very special profession. It was like alchemists and array masters, but those who knew the Lord's Spirit technique were even rarer. Since it was a profession, there were ranks. Ordinary Seeker Spirit Masters were divided into 9 ranks. For example, Tuoba Tianxi was a rank 9 Seeker Spirit Master. He was young and stood at the peak of Seeker Spirit Masters. Of course, he was only at the peak of Seeker Spirit Masters. Above Seeker Spirit Masters, there were even more powerful existences. That was Earth Spirit Masters. Earth Spirit Masters were terrifying. Their power and abilities were beyond everyone's imagination. They weren't weaker than peerless powerhouses. Above the Earth Spiritualist, there was the even more mysterious and terrifying Sky Spiritualist. However, Celestial Spirit Masters were very mysterious. They had not appeared for many years, and no one had been able to cultivate to such a heaven-defying level. Lin Xian's current state reminded the two old ladies of an Earth Spirit Master. Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret god eyes, emitting mysterious runes. Soon, he locked onto a stone among the dozens of stones. That stone was completely gray and was about a meter tall. Compared to the 3-orifice wonderstone that Tuoba had chosen, it could be said to be a giant. However, when Tuoba Tianxi saw this scene, he sneered. Brat, I originally thought that you were very powerful. I didn't expect that you were just bluffing. Don't think that you'll be able to find treasures just because you chose a big stone. He had also examined the stone in Lin Xian's hand, but he didn't find any signs of treasure inside. Therefore, he guessed that it should be a useless rock. Moreover, ordinary spiritual masters wouldn't choose this kind of stone. He didn't expect that Ouyang would choose that kind of stone. Lin Xian ignored this provocation. He turned to look at the old lady from the Jade Lake Holy Land and asked in a deep voice. Senior, how much is this stone? 1,500 kilograms of crystals. The old lady from the Jade Lake Holy Land said slowly. Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar and discussed animatedly. 1,500 kilograms of crystals was also a sky-high price, but compared to the 4,000 kilograms from before, it was indeed much worse. In other words, even the Jade Lake Holy Land thought that the 1-meter-tall stone was not as good as the 3-orifice Wonderstone. That was natural. The 3-orifice Wonderstone was incomparably mysterious, and could not be compared to any other stone. Moreover, based on the price alone, it could be seen that the people from the Jade Lake Holy Land did not care much about the 1-meter-tall stone. Discussions sounded one after another. Even Ouyang Mingfei and Huangfu Qian frowned. To be honest, during this process, they had been using their eye skills to observe, but they did not find anything unusual about this 1-meter-tall stone. Therefore, even if they were given 2 choices, they would not choose this stone. The 3-orifice Wonderstone that Tuoba Tianxi chose is indeed extraordinary. According to my guess, there's an 80% chance that there's a treasure inside. Yang Mingfei said in a low voice. But I can't see through that 1-meter-tall stone. I can't see through it either. On the side, Huang Fuqian also frowned. I didn't see any light inside, nor did I use the spirit-seeking art to sense the aura of divine crystals or rare crystals. If a person's judgment is wrong, it's understandable. But the three of us top-notch spiritual masters didn't discover the secret of that stone. Why did he choose that stone? Could it be that he was just lucky before and didn't know how to search for spirits? That's impossible, right? Just now, he clearly used a strange eye technique. The power of that eye technique made even us shudder in fear. It's hard to imagine that he doesn't know how to search for spirits. Could it be that his eye skill saw something special? What special thing could it be? Other than divine crystals, there's also ancient spiritual medicine. But even if the ancient spiritual medicine is sealed, we can still find it through the spirit-seeking art. Huang Fuqian frowned. She really couldn't understand. Yang Mingfei said faintly. Forget it. If you don't understand, don't think about it. Anyway, they'll cut the stones soon. We'll know if there's anything inside soon. After the two made their choice, the next step was to cut the stone. Tuoba Tianzi was very confident. He cut the stone first. Crack, crack, crack! The small knife in his hand fell quickly, and the stone kept dancing. Tuoba Tianzi was very careful. Every cut was very precise. After a dozen cuts, a light suddenly lit up from the crack. It was so bright that it shone in the sky. Accompanying it was an aura that shook everyone's hearts. This aura? Is it a divine crystal? An older spiritual master widened his eyes. Heavens, there's really a treasure. It's a divine crystal. The surrounding martial artists were shocked to see this. They didn't expect that someone would cut out a divine crystal so soon. The last time a divine crystal was cut out was not long ago. It was Lin Xian. They didn't expect that only a day later, Tuoba Tianzi also cut out a divine crystal. There was indeed a treasure, and it was a divine crystal. Tuoba Tianzi was quite lucky. Yang Mingfei's eyes flickered, while Huang Fuqian snorted. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.